Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
I had to build my own family. I ain't your son. I ain't your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
I had to build my own family. I ain't your son. I ain't your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller. Not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
God's had to build my own family. I hate your son. I hate your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
The Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller. Not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
God's had to build my own.
What is up, everybody? This is Silver Spook, and this is the... Oh, let me put this down a little bit. What's up, everybody? This is Silver Spook, and this is the... What is it? What is it? Oh, yeah, it's the Silver Spook live stream. What's up, everybody? This is the Silver Spook live stream, and sorry, I'm a little just woken up today. But anyways, this is the Silver Spook live stream, and today, don't forget that you can always support what we do here by either becoming a Patreon member, a Patreon supporter, picking up Neofeud, the game you just watched a trailer for, picking up Decolonators, and or supporting us through the StreamYard's direct donations, and or just liking, subscribing, sharing the stream around, etc. Anyway, so today we will be talking about John Cena. Dun, 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 dun. No. Well, we will, but yeah. So today, I should probably just jump right into it since I'm already basically there. What's that? You're already there. We're already there. We just brought up John Cena. How can we can't get out now? We are in the Cena zone. We're in the John Cena zone. I have talked about John Cena previously on these streams at Fast 9. I had a whole series, not series. I had like several streams to do with Fast 9. So it's not like I have never talked about. I haven't specifically gone to John Cena, the person, but of the stuff that I was not, the content, the movies, games, shows that I was not dunking on. There were very few last year that I was like not using as a jumping off point into in a negative, in a kind of this is not cool sort of way. But one of them was a Fast 9. Let me see if I can find that video. I don't know if I have it. I have it somewhere. Here. I'm sure Holly's already got it. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll give that a shout out before I do anything else. Fast 9, Spoil Rich Pricks versus International Family. I don't know if family in a Vin Dieselian sense. Vin Diesel was not a pro wrestler, if I'm not mistaken, right? Vin Diesel was never a wrestler. But John Cena obviously was. So, several months ago, I did a whole stream on this. John Cena is like the antagonist in this. And this is one that was actually, I liked it a lot for a lot of reasons. It was like the highest grossing film for a long time in 2021 that was outside of China. The highest grossing film of 2021 until they kind of fully opened theaters was Battle of Lake Changjin, which I also recommend. But this is one that I really enjoyed. So I'm just front loading this as I try to figure out where exactly all of my notes are. But we'll be getting into it. Don't worry about it. We'll be getting into the John Cenas. We'll be getting into it. I'm gonna cosplay Peacemaker later on today on the Twitch stream. So if you want to see that, you got to stick around for that one. But today we will be talking about making peace by accepting how ridiculous and wrong that you are, and then changing. And we will be talking about we'll be talking about John Cena, his silver spray painted toilet bowl with attached to a bucket with hot glue that passes for a helmet. We'll be talking about Tidy Whitey's 80s hair metal ballads while like wailing into a dildo, a vibrator, which John Cena does in this show in the first half an hour. While he like fully naked. We'll be talking about having your X-ray, complaining that while your doctor is fixing your broken clavicle because you got shot by Idris Elba and then a building fell on you and you broke your clavicle, and then complaining to the doctor that the X-rays contrast is too low. So all that the Peacemaker is upset about is that he can't, the X-ray is contrast so low, you can only see his giant 30-inch biceps, but he's like, why can't you see all of my smaller muscle groups? It makes me look like I'm one of those dudes who only cares about bulk, like I'm some kind of Joe Rogan ivermectin salesman, goat nail polish peddler that's like complaining about lockdowns while and drinking his own urine to cure COVID-19, and then trying to get trying to look like a literal meatball, like a as wide as he is tall, COVID spewing muscle brain, and John, and the Peacemaker's like, I don't want to look like I'm one of those people, even though I kind of am that person. And that's Peacemaker is a show. The end. No, it's very much it's very funny. It's like it's the funniest thing I've seen is Reservation Dogs. Okay, so Reservation Dogs. It's a good kind of companion to Reservation Dogs and Boba Fett. I did a whole one about Boba Fett last week, so this is kind of like like I always say, I'm half stormtrooper, I'm half, because I speak English, right? Because I was raised in the United States and trained under the illegal occupation and the banning of our culture, language, and erasure, obliteration of our Hawaiian history. That can't be undone. That doesn't wash out. Not unlike the bloodstains on a overly tight, hyper muscled toddler uniform. The blood that doesn't wash out. That's just in there. It's like it's too late. I can't unlearn. I can't undo 0 years to 18 years to 25 years of growing up in the United States illegal occupation. That's just how it is. That Neofeud is kind of about acknowledging how ridiculous that all is. The Western way. But that's also like that's like the fact that you're watching this, you are already part stormtrooper, I would argue, actually. And so that has to be acknowledged, right? It has to be accepted. And then, how ridiculous and how wrong all of this is, And so it's like, and at the same time, we also have to like look to Reservation Dogs is a show that's about, the thing with like, Reservation Dogs is a show that is not to say that the people in the show, like they're completely, or that there's some kind of like idyllic, Edenic, perfect utopian version of the noble savage, or like this the perfect way to be, the perfect culture or something. But like with Reservation Dogs, it's a show that is very much, it's a little bit different. It's not they're still damaged by colonialism, of course, indigenous people in the Oklahoma areas. In Hawaii, it's Hawaii is different. It's similar to North American colonization experiences, but Hawaii is very much fully like it's very strongly obliterated. Like there's not a lot of reservation there. It's everything is you're all American. Everybody in Hawaii don't even realize, because in the reservation, there's a lot of really detrimental problems, like being in a reservation, but water advisories everywhere, underfunding, just like chronic environmental, economic subjugation, poverty, and degradation of the people, right? Of course. Hawaii is a place that is, but it's kind of like, at least one of the positive things, if you have that, is that you have your space, you have your kind of, there's the tribal government. Even in Reservation Dogs, you see Biggs is the, he's the light horseman. That's the enforcement officer that is put in place by the tribal government. So it's a kind of separate, it's a separate sort of system. At least it has a stronger degree of separation from the colonizer world. Where in Hawaii, the Hawaiians are kind of just gone, and there's no light horsemen. You're just United States police officers. There's United States government. That's it. It's the state of Hawaii. The Hawaiians are vaporized, and that's kind of, like they have to kind of at least acknowledge that there's still an indigenous culture, community with its own indigenous government, a nation within a nation. Not to say that Native Hawaiians don't want nation within a nation status under the United States, but they do have their own kind of like, it's at least somewhat acknowledge that they are a separate system, and they can kind of choose to govern themselves the way that they want to. Now they're under resourced, and so when an indigenous people in North America, especially the U.S., but U.S. and Canada, have to go to a hospital in California, they get maltreated, much higher death rates, etc. But in Hawaii, it's just like you're all gone now, and you're all American now. So it's a different thing. So for Hawaiians especially, Samoans too. You're all gone now. You're all stormtroopers. Like literally, you're gonna go fight in Iraq with Dwayne and all of your Hawaiian family and relatives, you're all going to fight for the U.S. military now. Sign up with G.I. Joe, Captain America, and join up with the Falcon. Everybody, you're all going to go bring peace to the world. You're going to bring peace to the world by fighting for the United States, right? I mean, I've hit this topic so many times over the last year's streams. You can go watch some of those. So, but that's a major difference. But Reservation Dogs is a show that's like shows like how indigenous communities, non-colonizer communities, non-imperial communities interact and treat each other, even despite the colonial process. I did a whole one about Boba Fett, right? Let me see if I have that video here. Last week, I did one about the Book of Boba Fett, indigeneity, and Star Wars. So, and this deals directly with, this indigeneity and Star Wars deals directly with how win-win cooperation with indigenous Sand people versus win-lose colonization. So, when Boba Fett, played by, of course, Tamura Morrison, an indigenous Maori person, is like in the community of, or kind of like, he is the person, is a indigenous person, of course, Tamura Morrison. And then he's in a community in the show of Sand people where he's kind of like, the way I'm reading it is like he's kind of like learning and experiencing the ways of a still existing, still traumatized. The Sand people are traumatized by the space America, space Euro colonizers that are like riding levitating trains and just firing, energy gun instead of rifles. They're firing energy guns, just drive-by shooting at the Sand people who are, kind of they're just kind of not retcon, but they just kind of like explored more deeply, and they're revealed to be like they are the indigenous people of their planet. And it's more from their perspective as opposed to from Luke's, white savior Luke's perspective, from Anakin's perspective. And so, so that's a science fictional, like these are all important, and we just watched another episode yesterday of Boba Fett, but I need a new thing to make the Death Star satellites from which we stream not vaporize my stream off of their servers like so much like a Korean town in the Korean War, or a Vietnamese rice paddy in the Vietnamese War. When America's bringing peace under anti-communist, right, anti-pinko commie peacemaking to the world, right? So anyways, so I have to constantly come up with these things. So today we're not doing this, but I guess so my point was kind of like that, like we have to recognize that as indigenous peoples, I'm a native Hawaiian and activist, defender of our sacred mountain, Mauna Kea, etc. And then I'm also a cyberpunk game maker, and I'm also somebody who was raised in the U.S. occupation, which is part of who you are, right? So we have to like kind of recognize where we want to move towards, and the world we want to build, while also addressing the world that exists. And and we can't just pretend like we can just tomorrow, instantly be in a healed world and just wish the damage away. It has to be like addressed and it has to be dealt with. Because if we just pretend like it's not there, if we just ignore it, then it festers. Like, again, it's like putting the Band-Aid on your leukemia, it's like putting a Band-Aid on your metastasizing cancer. You have to root it out, and it's going to be very painful. Very painful. I mean, that's why you have to laugh at it, that's why Peacemaker has to kind of laugh at it. That's why Neofeud is the way that it is, it's got to have that to me, it's like, I couldn't do Neofeud. It deals with the prison industrial complex, the murder of innocent non-white people, stealing of indigenous children. Of course it's traumatizing to me and to everyone else, I'm sure, who experiences it, especially if you're somebody who literally experienced that. It deals with, murder, and then watching the community, the people, the government, the businesses together of the country in which you live laugh at you and ignore it. That's what Neofeud deals with. It deals with the richest people on planet Earth laughing at everyone. The neo-feudal elite captains of industry who are patting themselves on the back, for their hard work, so that we can and accepting their dominion over all the terrestrial living things that include the 99% that are ours to subdue, to use as we see fit, like pets or cattle. For they're not smart enough to efficiently manage themselves. So Neofeud is like, this is all like very, that's not even the worst. That's just a scene from Neofeud. That was based on this comment. I said, that's what very neo-feudal article. This is an actual real world article. Why can't a girl inherit a dukedom? In Britain, there's a new frontier of feminism, the aristocracy. Why, you just really bask off right now, neo-feudalism. Why are you making my point for me? You should at least try a little harder to pretend like you don't. You should pretend harder, Westerners, like you've improved from slavery to feudalism to capitalism to Western liberal social democracy. You should pretend, right? Why would you admit that you haven't changed at all and you've gotten worse? But that's, the lie of progressivism, colonizers. But anyway, this is them mask off. I met the campaigners trying to drag the peerage into the 21st century and got to pet a horse. So this is like a serious article. This is not joking. So, anyways, so, so Neofeud deals with all this stuff because this is Neofeud is not out there, Neofeud is not that thing that other people did. Neofeud is what I was trained to do, be one of these assholes is what I was trained to do, I was trained at a $20,000 per year Harvard, Princeton, and Yale feeder school to be a high frequency trading Goldman Sachs algorithm programmer and or a US senator and or some kind of a drone facial recognition system programmer to go bring peace to the Middle East. That was the job I was supposed to get. My parents are actually upset that I didn't get a job like that. When I said, I'm thinking about being a real estate agent or working for a giant bank, my parents are like, yeah, you should go do that. And they're like hippie liberal people. Well, you know how those people are. But anyway, they were like, they're not really people that were celebrating that. They like hated Reagan, all this kind of stuff. But when I said, I could go make a lot of money on Wall Street, they're like, no, you should go do that. So we can't just be like, and that's all in there. That's going to be in there. I always bring this up. That's going to be inside of me till I die. The lingering scars of that, if it heals, the lingering scars of all that cancer that is infused inside of my mind, like all the scarification, if I survive this, will be inside of my soul forever. And it'll be in yours forever. Your children maybe not, the next generation maybe not, but yours it is. If you can play and understand Neofeud, you have the stormtrooper in you. So pretending like it's not there will only make it worse. Pretending like you're all better will only make it worse. The seeds of colonization, the seeds of the trauma is left by the colonization. So that's why, it's important to always recognize that and not like, I can't just be, I'm your perfect spirit, spiritual guru and shaman and leader, and I'm just going to heal everyone. And, no. There is like there can be healing, but it requires acknowledging. It requires like not only lingering in the trauma of the colonial imperial unhealed descendants of the Aquilan, scarification and banning of the former indigenous peoples of Britain languages and cultures, and then making what's called Britain now, that made what's called America now. It requires like addressing all of that, and learning that, and staring at your own white blue-eyed face. Even if you're not white and blue-eyed, you have a white blue-eyed soul in you, and going, that's ridiculous, that's wrong, and I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that Palpatine that I was designed to be. I don't want to do that. I don't want to. Obama was the perfect example. Obama was the ultimate white person of all time. He extended the most destructive, omnicidal empire The pinnacle of the Roman Empire was the United States Empire, and it's not going to be around much longer. And Obama extended it by 10 years. He rehabilitated it when it could have easily collapsed under the weight of the 08-09 financial crisis and global capitalism's death throes, and he brought it back to life. So he has to look at, he's never going to, probably. He's just going to go away like selfish, non-7th generation thinking people who reject. He's going to go away like stormtroopers go away, which is they just like YOLO and then die, But we have to choose to not do that. We have to choose to like see how ridiculous we look in that spandex. We have to choose to see that we are a toilet people with a toilet bowl helmet, called American exceptionalism, and we have blood all over our hands. Every second you work for a corporation, you are the police when you're an American. Not only do you literally, your taxes pay for the police's salaries, but as you exist, foment, propagate, wrap yourself in that flag, you are the world police. You empower that which destroys everything. You are the war maker. You are the death maker. You are the death country, And you have to look at yourself and be like, oh my God, I'm ridiculous. What am I talking about? Human rights and freedom and democracy and prosperity for the world. I am you know what I'm talking about, right? I am, I go over the statistics all the time, but I am ridiculous. We have 45 times more malnutrition deaths than Vietnam. We have shorter lifespans than Cuba. We have 1,000 times more homelessness than China. We have 5,000 times less, more COVID than China. They have 180 cases. We have 800,000 cases per day. We are falling apart. We have fascism everywhere. We are killing Asian. We're asking Chinese people to come here while we had 3 violent attacks and a murder in the last 3 days in one city on one subway. The New York subway system. We are ridiculous toilet people. We're toilet bowl helmet people. We are covered in blood. We're not only are we ridiculous and laughably just ignorant, idiotic, and wrong, but we're also like malicious. And we're living in a trailer park, and even when we're living in the trailer park, being malicious. And you can like, that's the very important thing. Is you can be like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. You're wrong. And then you can become a Netflix comedian, Joe Rogan, or president, or Tucker Carlson. You could just be like a normal American, which is to be right wing and in perpetual denial of your ridiculousness, wrongness, incorrectness, and malice. Consciously or unconscious malice. You can, and just like evil. You can be in denial of that, and then you can get worse. You can put band-aids on your cancer, and then get worse. The rest of the world, the colonized world, is coming out. The more healed people are healing more quickly from the trauma that you've inflicted because your daddy's 70 generations back daddy had that inflicted upon them in Europe somewhere. And then you haven't healed from that. But the rest of the world is like, we're healing from this and we're getting out from under this. And you cancer people, you can go in the United States and Canada and Europe and Australia, New Zealand, Japan, India. You want to perpetuate what Britain did to you, and you want to coolify your own people and other people. You want to make war when they came and slaughtered you, and you want to perpetuate that. You go do that. But we, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Cubans, and the global South that's now working in a counter-hegemonic forum, we're not gonna be part of this, and you're gonna have a harder time, when you run out of when a tumor runs out of constant sugar and nutrients, when it gets starved of nutrients, it has a harder and harder time surviving as it starts killing its own, as it kills the host, which is its own society, and so as long as it has somewhere to spread and then suck nutrients in, it's okay. It can expand and expand and expand, so much like an empire. Clustering throughout the planet, like lumps of neocytes blistering all over Okinawa, like Red Hill, like poison seeping like so much leukemia into the water of Oahu. It can keep spreading, but it needs like healthy, nutrient-laden tissue to keep spreading, right? But now you're running out, and that's why they're turning inward, in the U.S. And that's why Canada has articles like, we have to prepare for mass influx of refugees as the U.S. falls into civil war. Because, and so ideally we want minimum suffering and minimum needless suffering and death and hurt and damage to happen. Not if, when, as things fall apart. But that's this is ideally you have the most people get the most educated and can internally say we accept how ridiculous and wrong we are, so that you have more people, less total people that suffer needlessly as the United States goes through this process. Let's just say it just goes through this process. We can't violate any terms of service, obviously, and we don't want to, but this is inevitable. The world, the world can't survive continued infinite capitalist extraction, any kind, let alone the United States. But it certainly can't survive the United States imperialism, that's for sure. War, So, if we want to actually make that peace, you have to make the internal peace. If you want to make that peace, you have to, and so anyway, a lot of this is, I'm not even talking about the show yet, but, yeah, I'm kind of like front loaded all of the show. I probably should have reviewed the show first. But anyways, I will say that, Peacemaker is very much it's a very like ridiculous. It's a very funny show. It's like right up there. I gotta put Reservation Dogs, but I'm glad I can actually have some shows that I actually like, and I don't have to just dunk on everything. I'm like Falcon and Winter Soldier. Oh my god! I mean, very entertaining. Again, it's not about from the entertainment value, production value perspective. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like I always say, disclaimer that I'm not. So a lot of this I'm talking about. I'm using the entertainment and the media products as a jumping off point to talk about everything else. But in terms of the entertainment value, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Black Widow, all these shows, they're watchable. Some of them are not watchable. Like a lot of the other, sadly, a lot of the other Justice League stuff, the Zack Snyder stuff is less watchable, unfortunately. But in terms of the politics and what the movie is actually saying and the meta narratives and what it's like infusing into the society, it's abominable. Like I've gone over, and so at least with Boba Fett and Peacemaker, I can like come on and say, well, you can't really make a perfect show, like certainly not in English. I mean, you can do a lot. You can't make it like a show that says absolutely what needs to be said, but you can sometimes get away, especially when you have people like Tarantino and Timur Morrison and people that have historically come from non-white and colonized perspectives, and just because your skin color is not white, that doesn't make that's not what it is. It means it's you could have somebody direct it. You could have Obama direct a show and it'd be abominable. Like I said, he's the greatest Emperor Palpatine that ever lived. So you have to, but at least we have some shows that like I said, are taking a different perspective. In my view, anyway. People might disagree with what I'm saying, but whatever. Peacemaker though is a show that is freaking hilarious. I will say that. It's very funny. Let me see if I can get some like images. I should probably get some images of this so I can remember what happened. We only watched one episode of it. The intro is it is absolutely the greatest intro. I will say it, the greatest intro of any show ever. You have to. I'm gonna literally do the intro dance like later on today. That's how good this intro is. and trying to find the intro dance. Like I don't want to get in trouble for it, so I'm not gonna not show it. But let's just say there is a literal freaking eagle called Eagly. There's an eagle called Eagly that comes out and dances with John Cena, and the entire cast. It's like a. I mean, he kind of, like I said, he looks like a third grader putting together a superhero costume. I mean, I know it's like a high quality costume, but it's like, it's somebody who like aspires to be a great, virtuous, valorous superhero, right? Who is like a kid cutting like felt out and stitching his own Superman costume together. Get some foil and like his Ninja Turtles shredder helmet, like cuts his Halloween costume $3 bargain bin shredder helmet, and puts a toilet seat on top because he's a toilet American person, and then spray paints it all silver, right? Gets like a giant plastic gun that's also spray painted silver, and it's probably causing toxic fumes to give him brain damage. And then he's in like these ridiculous polo shirts and white polo pants, and then he's like dancing around, but he also like he's always like there's something very important, and let me see if I can just get I'm gonna get like a small clip of the Peacemaker intro and then not get in trouble. Let's see if I do this just a little. Yeah, this song is freaking hilarious too. He's just doing his little dance, you know what I'm saying? Oh my god. So anyway, you get the idea. I should stop before I get in trouble. But it's like they're all doing a like 80s ballad. It's like a 80s. It's the group that actually made the song that Do You Really Want to Taste It is Wigwam, which was it was a mock 80s rock and roll, like a 2000s comedy rock band, right? Let me see if I can get a picture of them. That is Wigwam, yeah, that's their name. They're a comedy rock band. Dragon Force? I played a lot of Guitar Hero, so that's how I learned all of my rock history. I have a PhD ×2 in American rock history by playing way too much Guitar Hero and then like playing Through the Fire and the Flames with a drill and using my genitals to strum the plastic Wii controller. You can watch me embarrass. Speaking of embarrassing yourself, I'm gonna embarrass myself a lot later on when I show how I tried to get a YouTube career by playing Guitar Hero with a beer bottle, and insulting people on Reddit threads about how much they suck at video games. Anyways, that's a dark part of my history. That's my own Peacemaker. That's my own ridiculous wrongness. Anyways, so but Wigwam is a group that is about making it's a comedy group about 80s metal. It's like Spinal Tap, and Christopher Guest movies. Christopher Guest, John Carpenter, indie wrestlers, Evil Dead. There's a long history of this. It's Peacemaker is very much in line with all of that. Which is what a lot of dystopian fiction. I have a whole stream just about dystopian fiction. Why those are important for acknowledging how fucked up you and your society and your government and your people and your businesses and your culture are, which is important if you're from an unhealed imperial hellscape and you want to not be there. You have to acknowledge it. So Wigwam is a band though. It's about this. That's about making they were performed live in the noughties. Bon Jovi made a comeback sometime in the mid-noughties, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then Dragon Force is a mock speed metal. Dragon Force? I have a song called Through the Corona and the Strike. I'm going to play that later too. I'm going to get all my hair metal fucking I got all these wigs out. Speaking of wigs, I got like 25 of them. Dragon Force was all about, it was a comedy. It's kind of, it's not, they're kind of half serious and half comedy, but it is kind of like referencing, it's always kind of half serious and half but it's like referencing like 80s speed metal and just like super fast, you know, hammer on pull-offs and 80s video games and Contra and Mega Man Blipcore, you know, and Wigwam is very much like that sort of band. And you know, because it was all of it is kind of internally ridiculous. Anyways, back to Peacemaker. So the song that is being played while they're doing their little dancey here, right? Their little dance is like that hair metal song. Oh, it's got the Tasty from Orange is the New Black. You know, oh my God. And John Cena is over there, right? Just like he's just like full, you know, like Holly's helps produce a show called The Lullaby Lounge, or now it's gonna have a new name with K Next and Ophidian the Cobra, who's an indie wrestler like John Cena. And although all our friends who are like wrestlers, they all fucking love this intro. And then, you know, because I mean, wrestlers are dudes who kind of wanted to be in theater, because wrestling is very dramatic, you know, it's very theater, you know, it's like dudes who grew up kind of nerdy, kind of wanting to get into theater and storytelling and costume design, but sewing is women and it's a F slur thing to do. And story, you know, like you're a story F slur is a thing they would say on Reddit, you know, or and in the toxic male gaming culture. And they're like young boys who kind of wanted to put on costumes, right? And tell stories. And also maybe, you know, they like to work out too and stuff. And there's, you know, but like, and they like, you know, it's a violence. There's a lot of violence happening too. But a lot of wrestling is like storytelling. I mean, if you just want to do straight up violence, you could just go to an MMA or just like, you know, do some, just, you know, just be a violent person. You just play some regular sport. But wrestling is a storytelling. You know, it's like it's a drama thing, which is already in the United States. It's a very queer, womanly thing to do. Men just go and kill, particularly blacks, communists, LGBTQ plus people, Asians. That comes up in the Peacemaker. I actually love that part because it's like it says exactly what it says exactly what a toxic U.S. culture is. You know, it just full on says that. And but the boys in America in a toxic masculine, capitalist, anti-communist, anti-gay, anti-black, anti-people of color U.S. empire, right? Peacemaker grew up raised by a boomer right-wing Republican, you know, or just doesn't really matter, they're all the same, but you know, mask off U.S. American father, you know. He's played by the T-1000, who is the you know the T-1000? What's his name? Holly knows his name. Robert Patrick, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of cyberpunk, because I'm a cyberpunk game dude, so I gotta have at least one cyberpunk. You know, Robert Patrick, the ultimate asshole cop, who is also the ultimate killer from the future robot overlords that send their you know, liquid metal spawn to assassinate the leader of the revolution, right? The ultimate asshole American cop in the T-1000 in Terminator 2 Judgment Day plays Peacemaker's ultimate asshole American imperial father, you know? And it's kind of let's see if we get a picture of it in the Peacemaker. And that was I really love the part where it's like him and his dad, you know, those scenes are like so good. They're not the most funny scenes. They're like the serious scenes. It's like, you know, like in Neofeud, there's like the super serious scenes, you know, where you have like the taking of marginalized children and the killing by the police and people affiliated with the police of marginalized people, and then the tech companies covering it up for money, right? It's super serious scenes, and these scenes are not quite that serious, but you know, they're serious scenes, and then there's like super funny scenes, like you know, $6 billion ball of kids with, you know, golden guns, you know, shooting at liquid Terminator cops, and then a bedraggled social worker cop being called, you know, a scruffy a scruffy, broke-ass Bruce Willis. There's a lot of comedy, but then there's also very serious stuff. So I do like that about Peacemaker. And there's scenes where it's him and his dad, you know? Him and his racist T-1000, hyper-American, hyper-Westerner cop dad, you know? And he looks like a curdled, he looks like a curdled Mitch McConnell crossed with Donald Trump, crossed with, Mike Pompeo, you know? Like, I ran the CIA for 20 years. I killed all of the world's communist and socialist movements. I wiped with my thumb, with my pinky, all the Americanness in my pinky was enough to wipe Korea off the map and install a murderous regime. I destroyed the Soviet Union single-handedly, son. What are you doing getting shot? He calls him everything. In one sentence, he's like, you are a disgrace. You got shot. I didn't, how could my sperm give birth to such a sad, like Nancy, commie, you're basically, he says everything short of the N-word. He says everything. It's anti-Semitic, it's anti-black, it's anti-communist, it's anti-women, it's anti-everything. And he's like, you are a failure because you got shot. I don't care that you're in a hospital. I'm here to, the United States is the greatest country. We didn't become the greatest country by having a bunch of F slurs. You got to man up, and he's like, it's perfect. Cause it's like, that's your daddy. That's who raised us. The United States school system and culture. That is the face. That is the United States. That's still today. That's who raised Donald Trump, and that's who Donald Trump is, and that's still in everybody, whether you like it or not. That's in you. That's in me. That's in you. Some part of it. Were you abused? I mean, even if you were abused, the way you can choose to deal with it. Sign up for that goddamn military. Get out there and kill some socialists, kill some Asians, kill some G slurs, kill some C slurs, kill some N words, kill some sand N words out there in Iraq. Get out there. And Peacemaker is like, I was in the hospital for 4 months. I got shot. I kind of helped save a whole lot of people. And his dad just like, I don't give a fuck. He's telling his dad about how he got hurt. He almost died. And his dad just like staring at his food. He's like, what are you doing in my house? He's like, I thought about you every day while I was in hospital, Dad. I didn't think about you for a single day. What have you ever done to deserve my respect? You didn't even kill any. I don't care as many people as you killed. That will never be enough. You got to get out there and kill some more you got to kill some more Iraqis. You got to kill some more of those Chinese. You got to get out. You better sit on a throne of Chinese skulls, type A man. Oh, you're not even a man, are you? No, you're a Nancy. That's what he calls them, all kinds of things, right? What are you even doing in my house, loser? His son lives in a trailer park. Sorry for a part. His dad is a 70-year-old boomer. He lives in a nice big suburban house. His son lives in a trailer park. And it's like, and he's like, what are you even living in this house for? What are you leeching off of me? You should be out there buying your own house, loser. I have had that conversation. My dad is not even a Republican, and he's like Hawaiian, more Hawaiian in the nation than he is white. But he said the same kind of stuff to me. What are you doing in my house? You are a American 25, 30-year-old. You should own your own house, son. You should be housing us, son, what, or daughter, or non-binary person. You should have your own place. Why don't you own your own house, right? Never mind all of the reality of, dying neo-feudal, neoliberal capitalism where the millennials can't make 10% of the down payment on a house if they work 2 jobs. I don't want to hear excuses. I want to see 10 million Chinese skulls that you're sitting on. That's all I want to see. He's like the Clinton. He's kind of like the Clinton Bush kind of character. Like, I'm not here to pat you on the back for getting 1590 on your SATs. I'm here for 1600. I'm here for winners. I'm here for people who want to win. We're not here for losers. You know, I'm not gonna ever give you any love till you own the entire planet. Like Daddy said, you know, you 2 billion. That's not enough. You need 200 billion. Elon, 200 billion. That's not enough. You need 300, a trillion. Nothing will ever be enough. I didn't shoot sperm to make little Nancy lose her children. That's not just America. That's the West. That's Europe. That's Britain. They do it much more politely. They say, "Oh, you're just merely a Duchess of York. Why aren't you queen? Oh, you're merely a lord. Well, actually, the Windsors there, they actually inherited, 25,000 acres of property, and they have $7 billion. So your mere marquise appointment, your mere viscounthood, that's not acceptable, child. This is just the European way. And then the American one is a little more crass and it's a little more harsh, but it's, that's the Western way. That's the feudal way, which is the capitalist way, which is the Roman way, which is the British way, which is the Spanish way, which is the French way, which is the American way, which is the South Korean way that America installed in their bodies and in their hearts and made them into Americans. It's the Taiwanese way, when in the hearts of those people and the minds who had Western liberal democracy under capitalism installed into them. It's their way. That's why they call up Donald Trump and thank them, like Tsai Ing-wen. It's in the hearts of every Hawaiian who went to American patriotic public schooling and then works for Pearl Harbor, right? Like Kai Kahele, and then plays defense for the U.S. military. It's in them, and they, it's in Dwayne that had to go to American and Canadian schools, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And that was the recruiting tool for the U.S. military. I didn't raise, and so anyways, that part's like the most real parts, so far anyway. I mean, there's probably lots more going on, but it's to me that those scenes are very important. Not because I like the character, I agree with what he's saying, but it's because you cannot pretend that it's this character, and when he's talking to Peacemaker, when he's talking to his son, right? That is addressing how the actual damage that is about, again, like that's about acknowledging, accepting not really the ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but that's the wrongness, If you don't, like, there's shows that kind of go, like Falcon and Winter Soldier, there's some racist cops and there's some economic inequality, but it doesn't really, it kind of goes, okay, well, there's a few cells of cancer on your skin, and we'll scrape off a little of the top, scrape off a little bit and then put a Band-Aid on that. And here, put some Neosporin. That's Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's not going to do shit. And then let's all go work for the U.S. military. And Anthony Mackie, a black man, telling the senators and military generals that they should do better, otherwise there will be more flag smasher, anarchist, socialist, communist kids building global movements. You guys should try a strong lecture, like AOC, like waving her hand at the military industrial complex and capitalism. That's really gonna fix things, right? That's not gonna do shit, And I'm not saying that this show is gonna fix everything. That's not gonna fix everything, but its attitude is to, like, and I think part of it is James Gunn was attacked from the right, because of the things that he was doing in his own movies, which they were too left for him. It's the same people that are come after Matrix Resurrections, right? It's the right people that are upset. That's how you really know. It's gonna ruffle a lot of feathers the wrong way. And, a lot of people there's a lot of people I already see, they don't like John Cena in his underwear, ridiculing really buff white dudes, and who doesn't like that is white dudes who are selling CrossFit, how to be a successful crypto bro, gain 20 inches on your biceps books, and shitty entrepreneur Elon stands. That's who's upset about. I not a whole lot, but because John Cena is so likable, other people have a hard time. But some people are upset. They're like, why is he dressing and embarrassing himself in his tidy whities and singing? He should be like more manly. He should be like a type A man, right? Like Tucker Carlson said, like what the U.S. and Republican and right wing, the mask off America wants, which is I want a bunch of type A men, right? No teachers, no Netflix engineers, no nurses. Those don't count as the working class, right? To big swaths of the United States. We need type A men who want to sit on a throne of Chinese skulls, right? And John Cena he's kind of like, his character is not, like, he's very like buff dude, and he's projecting. It's very much like, he reminds me a lot of EJ, if EJ like was like benching 500, no shade EJ, but somebody who was raised by a super kind of toxic American conservative Christian, right wing household, which EJ has admitted. EJ American Johnson of non-compete, and EJ always liked costumes. He liked sewing, and he got made fun of by his friends. He's actually a lot like Peacemaker. Like costumes and like storytelling, like putting on these clothes. Wants to do great things. Likes to sing, likes musicals. But then when he tries to actually do these things, gets made fun of. So, okay, well, I'm going to get really buff. And if I get really buff and get really strong and lower my voice about 2 octaves and if I sound like a really cool, really macho guy, maybe America will let me do my storytelling and drama and sewing and costume design that I actually want to do. But I have to do it while looking really macho because I'm in a toxic American culture, and that's wrestling. Kind of. That's one. But and that's the theater. But because EJ have said, like, I had friends who I don't want to sew. Well, come on, man. EJ, I think EJ was talking about we're sewing medieval costumes. That's what it was. He's like, yeah, we want to have it. We want to, like, he's like LARPing, 1600s, Europe, right? Well, I want to have a plate of armor, and he just talking about him and his friends are all making plates of armor, and they're like, SCA sort of stuff, making their swords and their medieval shields and their Tolkien-esque elf costumes, right? But he says, okay, now we have to sew the mesh pieces together. And then all of his friends, not all of it, some of his friends in the right-wing conservative Christian American area, they literally call it like Jesus Town, or it's like Jesus Town, USA. It's a Christian town because it's a region of, I believe, one of the Carolinas that has the highest per square mile of churches anywhere in the United States. And not to say that that's not the only place. This is everywhere. When I grew up, it was super homophobic, super. You're a F slur. We know this. The R slur, the F slur, the everything, right? You're just a little girl. I played football, super, super toxic, patriarchal. You're a weak little girl. You don't be a girl. You know what the Hawaiian word for stand up like a man or man up? It's stand up like a human. So, well, everywhere is like that. No, it's not like that everywhere. It's like that in toxic, masculine, imperialist, capitalist, feudalist, slavist, Romanist, Britishist, Frenchist, Spanishist, as descendants of Rome. Not necessarily they all came from Rome, but places that are, Japan is not descended from Rome necessarily, but they have a lot of toxic culture there, and it becomes toxic patriarchal culture, which is like, and so EJ was told by his friends, no, I don't want to do no sewing. Come on, we're gonna make cool medieval armor and stuff. That's like manly. We're gonna be manly knights, as a kind of a like you see, this is a cool boy thing to do. No, but sewing, that's like girly stuff. That's like gay, in a bad way. That's so. I don't want to even say it because it's really fucked up. But that's so associated with LGBTQ plus, and I don't do that. That's so associated with women, and I don't do that. That's so associated with this and that, right? And The Peacemaker is like directly addressing that. You know, at least that's maybe not. It's not coming out saying that. Obviously, John Cena does say, "Don't be homophobic and transphobic, and don't hate women, and it's okay to have a lot of muscles and be bi and whatever and be do musicals." He doesn't say that, but it's the show is kind of is dealing with this is like this is in you, this is inside this culture, and he says stuff like in the show where he's like, "Oh, you know, I love the '80s." You know, he's like looking through these albums. I'm gonna see if I can get a picture of that. There's a scene where he's like, you know, Peacemaker season 1 singing in his underwear. You know, this is John Cena singing in his tidy whities into a dildo. What's that? It's a vibrator. Okay, it's a pleasure toy, but it's not. Yeah, it's a vibrator. Yeah, you know, he's like singing into a vibrator while dancing around in his underwear, looking ridiculous. I mean, you know, where's the one where he's singing? But you know, like the important thing to me of this is he's looking through the albums, right? See if I can get the actual. It's fucking hilarious. But that's what I mean. It's like it's actually funny. You see, you can do. This is the thing. Oh, you know, the SJW woke cancel culture canceled comedy. I'm like, no, this show is funnier than any Netflix right wing garbage pile. Actual toilet bowl people comedian, not people who wear toilet bowls on their head. That's that you can wear toilet bowls on your head. That's fine. You know, I mean, like Steven Crowder, these kind of people, like you know, Joe, so-called comedian Rogan, Joe, I platform right shit and anti-vax garbage nonsense. Rogan takes himself like he's a Mr. Muscle Man taking himself way too fucking seriously. Speaking of that. You know, like he I remember yelling at Bill Burr, like, "Oh, are you a girl? You know, it's the same kind of stuff, right? It's like you're a girl, you wear a mask. That's such a girly thing to do." He's saying like really like, you know, sexist things about to Bill Burr. Burr's like, dude, like we're here to like not have a, we don't to you know, what's so manly about putting a goddamn you know basic medical procedure on your face, you know? Are you an expert? No, you're not. You're an idiot. You don't even know that hamburgers are not made out of pork. My God, how are you the number one podcast? How are you the number one most listened person audio in terms of like audio, which is a major way people listen to their information and news and stuff? How are you the number one person? You're an idiot, you know, and you're over here, anyways. So I don't have a picture of that singing. Yeah, we don't have that one. But anyways, you know, he's going on and on. He's like doing his little musical thing, while naked, and he says something like, what does he say? He says, I love this '80s band. It's like Poison. It's like.
I love all these bands. This is the best era for music when men weren't afraid to be women.
Yeah. That's what he says. So yeah, that's a literal quote. It says, "I love all these bands," you know, and he's like looking at like '80s bands, right? He's looking at like '80s bands. Oh yeah, this is the. Oh my God, yeah, that fight scene is freaking hilarious. But anyways, I don't want to spoil that for you, but you know, you know, he's like, this is my favorite bands. This is the best era of music when men weren't afraid to be women. You know, I mean, he says that, and you know. It's very much implying, you know, right, that like he has had to I want the goddamn scene. He has had to start to one day I'll be able to get all this together, but you know, he's implying that like he has had to suppress, right, all of these other aspects of his personality, which is what you have to do. I mean, I had to do this. We all had to. Everybody who, you know, was like, you know, everybody who was, you know, boy or AMAB, or, you know, was supposed to be a boy or a man or a teenage male in what's called the United States or its occupied territories, right? Or anywhere in the West, really. Britain is super homophobic. I don't know if you've heard. Everywhere there's the Venn diagram of places that have been colonized by Britain, those places that have homophobia, it's like almost purple. So, but you know, he says, you know, like, we all have to like hide these aspects of ourselves, you know? because it's a toxic patriarchal culture. You know, you want to be accepted by your T-1000, ultra cop, ultra CIA, ultra shit, you know, toxic masculine, it's very important that, you know, anti-communism, anti-blackness, and anti-communism, racism, anti-LGBTQ+, you know, all comes together, you know, because that is the way that it was. Like Pinko Kami is anti LGBTQ+ and anti-communism, you know, which is, you know, I don't know if you know this, but America was the number one, was one side, right? And it was for capitalism. And then there was another side that was for communism and socialism, you know? And there was an entire planetary struggle that has not ended. It's called the Cold War, but it's much deeper and longer than that, as I go off on longer streams about that topic. But, you know, and people like this character, right, were raised in Vietnam War. Like, there's a scene even in Umbrella Academy where it's like, you know, dad is telling his son, don't be a little F-slur, son. You got to get out there and you got to fight. You got to fight those commies. Don't be a Pinko commie. You know, our good friend Pinko the Bear, you know, it's a reference to all of this, right? You got to be a real man. And being a real man means being anti-communist, means not giving into all of these soft, these soft people that care about the blacks that should stop whining. It means being a man's man, never sewing, never singing, definitely never singing in your tighty whitey underwear. You know what I'm saying? Never, your hair got to stay one length, which is high and tight, German Nazi buzz cut. You know, you're gonna look like that, son. And if you ever don't follow what I said, son, you're a failure, and you will never get love from daddy. You will never get what you need. So you better fucking change. Well, not that daddy's ever gonna love you. Never mind love you. Daddy's never gonna love you, nor is daddy ever gonna respect you, nor is daddy ever gonna approve of you. But maybe I'll slightly less disapprove of you, son. Right? Keanu Reeves and Bill and Ted. This is even a part of the. Oh my God! I gotta go to military academy because daddy. You know, that's actually the story Cyberpunk. The father is threatening to send the original story Cyberpunk by Bruce Bethke is a Gen X 80s kid, 70s 80s kid, where dad is threatening to send a teenage son to the military academy to straighten him out if he doesn't stop screwing around with all of this weird punk and your long hair. Get your hair cut. You know, it brings even more reality to, you know. I just want to bring this thread up real quick. This is somewhat tangential, but I think it actually relates directly to this, what I'm talking about. John Romero's thread recently. John Romero. If you don't know who John Romero is a Gen X age Yaqui and Cherokee indigenous person who is also one of the most celebrated game developers of all time. He's the co-founder of id Software. You know, Doom. I was on a panel with him I'm a Native 5 indigenous person with Umurangi Generations creator Naftali Faulkner, Miranda Dew, and John Romero, the co-founder of id Software. You know, Doom Eternal, one of the most played. It was like the founding FPS, basically one of the biggest FPSs of the 90s, one of the most known and beloved games of all time. And John Romero, you know, he's made hundreds of games, so that's not his only game. Wolfenstein. Speaking of hitting Nazis, where the hell is Romero? Trying to find that thread. Shit, I lost my thread. Crap. Okay, let me go to John Romero's actual Twitter then. You know, and he has a whole thread about how he has long hair, but he doesn't only have long hair, right? Just because he likes metal, he does like metal. Here it is, right here. So John Romero, you know this guy, right? I brought him up on these streams before. I talk about him all the time. you know, very well known. They called him a rock star. He was like the rock star of game development. You heard of this game, Doom Eternal, Doom on Steam, and Doom is a very, it's a very metal game. It's a very, it's a lot of very violent game, but it's a very like masculine coded in terms of what happens in the game. It's not a violent shooting, and it's, a lot of young people in the U.S., including myself, like this game a lot, and I play this game. It's one of the games I played the most out of any game, like Deus Ex, Doom. I've been playing a lot of Contra recently, but it's one of the games that I always come back and play as a game developer and as somebody who grew up with video games, and then I was like half raised by video games from 1983 on to like 2000 something. So Doom is very well known game, but John goes into this whole thread about how he's I get a lot of comments on my hair, and while it's something I am known for, what's less known is that my long hair is important to me culturally too, and the older that I get, the more that it matters. 120 years ago today, the haircut order was issued. So, and he goes into this history about how the U.S. Indian Affairs Department the U.S. took issue with the practices of the Native peoples, men wearing their hair long. So he instructed superintendents of reservations to order men to cut their hair. The American superintendents ordered the Native American men to cut their hair. To ensure compliance, they suggested food be held back. Now, when there was public outcry, they suggested a more socially acceptable path was to, instead feed people while strongly encouraging them to abandon their traditions. But then, if they didn't comply, they just forcibly cut the hair. And they ended up doing horrible methods of enforcing short hair among indigenous men. Anyway, with the loss of the tradition and language, still goes the loss of culture. Over the years, I've heard everything from cut your hair to grow up. He's trying to be a rock star. And I wear my hair long as a proud Yaqui and Cherokee man, and will continue to do so until the day that I die. Native people are anyway. So I recommend you read this thread, and this is a document that literally goes into what exactly they did. So like, and it's important for people. This when we talk about addressing the ridiculousness and wrongness, and accepting these things, and then being different. These things are this is part of that. This is like the serious scene in Neofeud. Like, this is what America actually is. This is what the United States actually is. This is you falling apart. You have 850,000 plus deaths, and China has 5,000. This is bad. This is ridiculous, and this is wrong. And you can't just be in denial. China's making up numbers. America is literally, at the beginning of February, the federal government is removing hospitals from reporting deaths. That's the opposite of what you need to be doing. Not hiding. That's a band-aid on your cancer. Oh, we suck and we're killing millions of our own people, and everything is going wrong. Let's pretend it's not happening, right? Let's just like ignore the fact, like the metastasizing leukemia. Let's just do nothing. Let's just do nothing and see if that gets better, right? Let's just bury the million dead Americans and never let that see the light of day, right? That's the sign of, Richard Wolff would say, this is the sign of a society in what psychiatrists and psychologists call extreme denial. And you can't get, Richard Wolff is a premier Marxist economist in the United States of the triumvirate of Ivy League, prestige, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. You have to acknowledge this is what you did. This is who you are. You are the society, and you are the present and historical racist, colonialist, hyper-violent, toxic, just diseducated culture, me too. Not just you, me too. That's what, that's my entire life, is trying to undo all of this, right? Therefore, and it's a place that said such disgusting things as the wearing of if we withdraw supplies, we can induce all to comply with order. If we just remove all their food, we can make these Indians have short hair, because short hair is a sign of civilization. You know, you're a descendant of people who said sentences like that and made huge amounts of money working for the government, for businesses, and as private, public, non-profit individuals said such ridiculous, malicious, and did such ridiculous and malicious things as that. You know? Anyway, so the long hair, there's something to that. There's really something to the hair. That's why I could change my hair length on streams a lot. As I said, for us Native Hawaiians, enforcing toxic patriarchal culture, right? And there's a whole one about this one. I'm sure you might have heard me bring this up before, right? The history of Mahu, and challenging Mahu is a third gender, similar to Two-Spirit identity within indigenous Hawaiian culture, within our culture, which is about it was fully accepted, like I said, gender fluidity and LGBTQ plus people, and non-rigid toxic masculine culture, right, was just a normal Native Hawaiian thing. And as Adam Kiave goes in here, the history of colonization is about erasing all of this and destroying all this everywhere. Twin Rabbit has videos about this. The Queer Thanksgiving, it goes into a lot of this as well. Challenging colonial structures of power and gender, and there's a reason why the queer community in indigenous cultures is like at the forefront. Kumuhina today, and Kaomi was a person in the 1800s who was a queer person that led trying to maintain and stop eradication of Hawaiian culture in the 1800s, and so this history is there, it's real, and that has to all be acknowledged, and like Hawaiians also have to acknowledge this, There's a lot of Hawaiian men who have gone full Captain America, they've gone full toxic masculine, and you can have like 100% Hawaiian. Obama is very, very, very much darker, right? But he has got deeply the Americanness in him, And Kumuhina has come on and said, like, we have a lot of these people. A lot of these people are working with the U.S. military that's poisoning us at Red Hill right now, Where is everybody, huh? Where is, And the reason why they're not all out there is because they're working with the U.S. military, the U.S. capitalist entities, the U.S. tourism industrial complex, the U.S. government. And they don't want to rattle their jobs being... They don't want to acknowledge how ridiculous it is to have an illegal occupation of the United States, how wrong it is to have an illegal occupation of the United States that has banned Hawaiian language, culture, history, stole our land, imprisoned our elected leader, right? Destroyed everything, all of our greatest successes, the world's highest literacy rate, universal healthcare, the most successful socialist country with the best mass transit, all these things, right? Leading the world. How ridiculous is it? And wrong is it, right? And then you have, people like this person, right? Hawaiians waving the American flag behind them, right? Making peace, You can't make peace unless you make pono. And it's not pono to be making mountains of money, working for the empire that is doing the same thing that destroyed us. So that's anyway. So my point there is that we have to internally address all of our ridiculousness and wrongness, even if no matter what the skin color is, no matter who our ancestors are. We all have a variety of ancestors. Like some of my ancestors, like I said, were white, Texan, Billy the Kid, but even worse, just straight up like murderers and super racist people who beat Hawaiian wives and then made kids and then abused the kids, And then I also have ancestors that were friends and in the community of the Hawaiian Ali'i and the Hawaiian Maka'inana, who had the most advanced country in the world. And and I literally have my great grandma and great grandpa. One of them was a white American peacemaker murderer and capitalist and racist and also a failure like America today as it's failing. And the grandma was a Hawaiian woman, right? And so that's all in there. And also I have Asian ancestors, and I have ancestors of a variety of types. And all of that has to be acknowledged. And we have to acknowledge the good parts, the successes, and then we also have to go, oh my God, this was a failure. Wow, oh my God, this is a total failure. This is like this thing that my ancestor did. That is so terrible. That's about as bad as having 783,000 COVID cases in one day, your entire economy falling apart. People can't get their basic needs met. Schools are shutting, exploding. The entire country is falling into disrepair. The trains are all being robbed because people can't get their goddamn insulin for their children. And compared to a country like China that has basically no COVID, even Alpha, Delta, and Omicron. This is impossible. We can't solve it. The appropriate response is not, oh my God, this thing that I did, that my ancestor did, well, it's not that bad. And anyways, other people's ancestors or I did it. But the other people's ancestors and I, we had to do it because China did it, but at what cost? The appropriate response is not, oh, the other people did it, but they had to pay a horrible price that I made up. The appropriate response is, oh my God, the Chinese are very good at this thing that I suck at. I should learn from this failure, and then I should Xinao, which is a Chinese word that means brain cleaning and heart cleaning, and American anti-communists use it for brainwashing. Speaking of anti-communism, I've gone off about that several times, but you have to do actual brain cleaning, But to do brain cleaning, you have to acknowledge that your mind has wrong things in it. You have to do heart cleaning. But in order to do heart cleaning, you have to acknowledge that you have some deep, you have a small, kind of brittle heart that you're not really listening and hearing and having empathy for the Black Lives Matter. You're just kind of dismissing them. In order to clean your heart and your mind, which is what that word means, brainwashing. That was, anyway, my take on the quantum Western brain, and how there's no word that makes any fucking coherent sense in English, but stormtrooper languages. But you have to acknowledge this. The appropriate response is not like, oh, they're lying about their numbers while you're burying your own numbers. Florida, to be clear, America has been hiding its own numbers. America doesn't have the capacity to get accurate or anywhere near as accurate numbers as China, because it doesn't do even a fraction of the testing. And even if it does the testing, it does it badly. And Florida, in 22 years ago, admitted that it fired its own pandemic scientists because the scientists refused to fabricate through AI, hacks. The scientists refused to fabricate fake numbers to make it look like Florida's COVID cases were going down, right? The United States, that's not the only state, oh my God, there's 7-layer burrito of suck here at dealing with the pandemic. The response, and the more that you cover that up, the more cover you put, the more you just go, oh shit, let's spray paint another layer of blue paint on my costume and make that blood go away. That doesn't make the deaths and the suffering go down. Let's just bury our numbers. Let's just hide all of our history of planetary evil of my colonial past. Let's just hide all of the 2 million that died in the Korea War, the million in Vietnam, the tens of millions that have died in all of America's anti-communist wars to perpetuate the most destructive cancer economically of the planet, capitalism, and America is the number one most cancerous entity on the planet Earth in terms of causing destruction, violence, death, suffering of people, of our relatives, of other sentient beings in nature, and of the planet itself. Let's just pretend like we're the good guy. That's you can't. And that's why like the whole dirtbag thing. Oh, well, let's just let all of our people that we're organizing with in the US and the UK, let's let them be racist and sexist and ableist and all these things, and just like ignore it so that we can get a working class movement, and like, like that's like that you're enabling the thing that is why, the secondary contradictions that are a major reason why. That's kind of, well, let's address like the top layer of skin cancer and let's leave all the leukemia in, let's just, that's what you do when let's just cut out this tumor and leave let's cut out the elbow tumor and leave all of the arm and forearm and the ones in your liver. Let's leave those in because elbow cancer is like really important. Let's just, let's have a working, let's have the elbow. If the elbows are working, like let's have a movement that is centering a minority of the world that happens to be white, mostly suburban or middle class or formerly middle class with certain jobs. Let's exclude teachers now, apparently. Let's exclude this ethnic group. Let's exclude the global south. Let's just focus on this little, because yes, people that are white middle class men, of course, are hurting too in the United States. But when we go, well, let's just throw everyone else under the bus and just focus on this little bit of cancer. That's not enough. That's not deep enough, thorough enough. Shinao. Brain and heart cleaning, getting educated, And when you don't acknowledge that and you just like punch down at all those people, right? Like the people that punched down at James Gunn, not punch down, the people that like attacked James Gunn, right wingers that said James Gunn is a terrible person because he was like, being less anti-women and anti-black and these kind of things. They said we don't want to making any more stuff, right? And it's kind of like, and then you get Iron Man, and then you get Captain America, and then you get Falcon and Winter Soldier. You get these thin, not to say that the movies, they're very important to manufacturing and consent and the culture itself, and then you get this culture that's worshiping NFT crypto bros Elon Musk. Elon is not worth a shit. Everybody kind of knows this now. He's a total clown, right? You should. If you don't, welcome to reality. But pushing all the valid criticisms aside and just pushing up billionaire philanthropist, arms dealer, playboy, Iron Man, and pushing up, to bring this back, right? Because these are all superhero movies, right? Having a bunch of white people and their client state representatives of Asian and black, or there's barely any. Only recently is Shang-Chi. Having billionaire philanthropist, arms dealer, playboy, right? Elon Musk crossed with the Coke Jobs, crossed with the CEO of Lockheed Martin. That's Iron Man, right? With Captain Star Spangled Underpants, the United States government and military, and Aryan Man, Europe, you get up in on this EU, and leading the charge, and not just like the surface of what skin color is being represented is one thing. The stories and what's playing out, and the narrative is also a white, Western, capitalist, American centered narrative in these stories. You can't manufacture that and be at the greatest, most watched, most beloved, highest selling movies in the United States and in a lot of the rest of the Western sphere of influence, and then you expect to get better. You're not addressing reality. You are just doubling down. You are putting band-aids, and you're putting white, very witty, very funny, Robert Downey, very entertaining, very good special effects band-aids over all your cancer. That's not what you don't need this, and again, that's the point I was making a lot last year, right? What you need is to go, oh my God, we are fucking ridiculous. We are like trailer park. Not to say that's kind of a bad thing to trailer trash. I know it's kind of like a pejorative, but we're like falling apart in a rusted, inadequate what's behind them is actually a trailer. We're like falling apart in a rusting, inadequate homes. We are like so diseducated, just really racist, really sexist, really wrong. We are wearing ridiculous toilet bowls, We're wearing ridiculous fucking toilet bowls. We're not cool. That's the problem with Robert Downey. He makes Elon Musk seem a lot smarter and cooler. He's like 10 steps ahead of everybody, If somebody opens their mouth and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I've already started. I've kicked quantum mechanics. I've solved time travel and Mars colonization," while you were saying your slow, unintelligent sentence, right? Robert Downey is just like he's a fast talking. He's a good comedian, right? But he makes it seem like, he makes it seem like billionaire capitalists, philanthropists who work with the U.S. military are super smart, right? You remember this scene? This is where Elon Musk literally shakes Iron Man's hand and Iron Man compliments him. He says, "You are really cool." This is a crossover, right? It makes it seem like Elon Musk is a very super smart, super competent, like incredibly competent, genius level, right? Very hip, with like very attractive wives. I'm not to say that it's something, that's not really appropriate, but it's a thing that's like, do you want to get a girlfriend, person who grew up in a toxic American capitalist Western culture? Do you want to have your sexy Stacy or whatever the incel thing is? You have to be cool, crypto bro, entrepreneur, right? And it makes it seem like Elon is super smart, super suave, super funny, very cool. Has his own kind of like edgy, like, yeah, screw authority. He's a very rebellious character, but also like in charge of everything while rebelling. Well, who are you rebelling against if you are, in charge of everything in the U.S. military industrial complex? Anyway, and then also, and deserving of the billions of dollars that Robert Downey's character Iron Man has, right? Working with the U.S. military. And so this, I was just watching Spider-Man Homecoming. I was thinking about this character. Not just Spider-Man Homecoming, but just the character Iron Man's in it, right? This is the biggest selling movies. The entire Avengers franchise was launched with him, right? And that has justified in the minds of hundreds of millions, if not billions of people, especially investors and young 20-something dudes, that we need to give all our money to people like Elon, and capitalism will save the world. It will save the world from space Russians in Avengers. The United States and capitalism and its military will save the world from climate change. It will deal with, it's what Elon does. My Teslas and my solar panels, we will save for climate change. We'll make electric cars. We'll save the world from, if our planet gets destroyed, I'm going to do Mars colonization. And this is going to I'm going to save the world from COVID. Elon Musk donated 2 broken sleep apnea machines when what you need is ventilators, but he doesn't know anything about barely anything. But the movie Iron Man justified to mountains of investors and the entire society that Elon was worth $200 billion. I argue that if Avengers and Iron Man were never made, Elon might be worth $2 billion, if anything. And the United States would be much more honest with itself. Think of all the entrepreneur bros. Think of all the NFT salesmen. Think of all the crypto bros. Think of all the people. Think of all the people that are like, I just gotta like keep hustling. Just hustle a little harder. Boss king dude. Think of all the people that have looked up to the U.S. military. Think of all the people who signed up to the U.S. military to be high-frequency trading algorithm programmers for Goldman Sachs, to be high-frequency drone-striking AI programmers for the U.S. Navy. Think of everybody who signed up because of Obama and Iron Man and Avengers and Captain America. How many people did Captain America recruit to the U.S. military successfully?
How many people did Battlefield 2042 and Call of Colonialism and esports, AAA gaming, which is all in the same kind of mode? How much did that recruit? It's the number one recruiting tool of the U.S. military, which is the number one force of global capitalism and death, destruction, and anti-communism around the world. And the number one global climate emitter. And the number one source of COVID-19, right? How much damage have these people like Obama and these films in terms of engendering in the world a permanent lie about who America is? I wager America might have a lot less than 850,000 deaths if more people were more willing to look at themselves in the light of who they actually are in the United States. You might be further along in your journey of accepting your ridiculousness and your incorrectness and getting better. If the last movies for the last 20 years, the games, the movies, your people that were on being aspired to, your public figures, your celebrities, of course your government officials. If you had other narratives of what it means to be a man or a woman or a non-binary person, and maybe narratives about how, like, you don't have to exactly be exactly one of those things in a very non-binary fashion, right? In a very binary fashion, I'm sorry. The narratives about what it means to be a approval deserving boy and an approval deserving man and a successful, glorious life. What it means to be virtuous, what it means to be a hero. If you had other narratives about that, like this, earlier, maybe the United States wouldn't be on the brink of utter collapse, possibly into full fascism, civil war, with 850,000 deaths, the entire economy being shredded into pieces, 3 years of permanent failure to deal with COVID-19, economic, climate, all this stuff. Maybe if you had started addressing this shit earlier, you wouldn't be where you are now. But sorry, that's where we're at. But thank God, at least now we can. I'm not saying that. Of course, I'm not saying any one of these movies or games or individuals is gonna save it. But as a pattern within the society, as a pattern within the West generally, that's what has been put out, and there's far too little. There's far too little that's trying to address. That's why John Carpenter was always sidelined, right? It's because it's stuff that's like trying to address, trying to address a neoliberal Reagan Thatchernomics 1980s. And America said, I don't want to hear that. You know what I want to hear? I want to see Tom Cruise with the military being a cool white dude saving the world with the US Air Force, right? Blowing up Asia. I don't want to hear that, I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear Escape from New York. I don't want to hear that, we're a falling apart shithole that doesn't deserve, like, President what? I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear that. You can have $10,000 and a Casio keyboard, John Carpenter. Go make some movie, I don't want to hear that. I want to see Tom Cruise saving the world. I want to see Muscle Dude fucking kicking the ass of some pink-tied Latin American socialist country, I want to see the A-Team. I want to see G.I. Joe. I don't want to hear the valid criticisms, then and now. Anyway, so I've kind of gone off of my tracks, but that's how this usually goes. I need some water. So, but back to Peacemaker. So, fuck Avengers and fuck Iron Man. Unequivocally. So anyways, back to John Cena nipples. So, there's too many veins on your shoulder and your pec, man. What's up with that? I don't think those veins exist. I think your body has evolved new veins to provide blood to
new muscle groups that don't exist. Anyways, so is that like a really long hookworm under your skin? Or are you just happy to see me? Anyway, so you know, with this, so again, so back to kind of that concept of how like the character is, and the show is unafraid to depict how ridiculous and in a way that's funny, you know, the stuff that's there are things that are actually funny, you know, but it's not ha 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 I said a slur, you know. That's Steven Crowder. That's average Netflix comedians. That's you know, that's most of the center of right comedy. That's what got Donald Trump. Part of what got the global fascists and right elected is comedians. That's not actually funny, you know. But this show is actually fucking funny. I mean, Reservation Dogs is also very funny. But it's about you know, acknowledging this, and then it is a story of a boy, right, who was raised in. Get back to this point. I want to get back to this point. So the T-1000 CIA white supremacist capitalist cop daddy, you know, disapproval of his son, who just kind of wanted to be in musicals and dance and put on costumes like wrestlers. And he makes all these comments. Like, there's another one where he's like, you know, oh, hey, you hear about Aquaman? You know, Aquaman, they're talking about Aquaman because Aquaman's in the DC universe, which Suicide Squad and Peacemaker is all in the DC universe, right? So they're dropping hints about all their other superheroes in their universe. You know, Aquaman is actually, you know, he had sex with a fish, and then Peacemaker's like, what? Oh, no. Peacemaker's like telling his friend that he's made, the janitor in the hospital. He's like, hey, you know, Aquaman is actually, he had sex with fish. He's like, what? No, that's not true. And he's like, yeah, he had sex with fish. I mean, having sex with women, yeah, of course, you know, having sex with other men, I mean, yeah, that's fine. But, you know, screwing fish, I draw the line there. and there's all these things that are dropped in. He also says, like, you know, stuff like, I have a real problem. I have a real bad problem. He's like talking to the Tasty character from Orange is the New Black, and he's like, I have a real problem. My dick's too big. Oh my god. I mean, no, I'm serious. And she's like, oh my god, I don't need to hear about this. Like, keep your cucumber shorts penis enlargement scam to yourself. No, I have a giant dick. Like, it hurts people. You know, it's really a problem, you know. But he says it hurts people, you know. You know, but and it's like it's implied throughout the show that he's not a super straight person. Now his dad like comes at him and says, like, you know, he's like, if you are gay, you don't count as my son. It's very clear, you know. And so it's clear. It's like he's got these like queerness about himself. He's got these not straightness about himself. He's like saying stuff like, I love the 80s and the music because it's a time when men weren't afraid to be women. He's saying all these things, and so it's clear that there's this constant internal struggle happening in his character, you know. And you know, and so it's very on point. And not just if you are a, you know, white dude passing or white AMAB person in the United States or in the West. You know, I mean, if you're even if you're not white, if you're black, if you're brown, I know this because I have people. I myself am not a white person, but like have had that in the culture in illegally occupied by the U.S. Hawaii, you know, like that's stuff that like, you know, my uncle is super homophobic. He was like, oh yeah, no, get those mahu. People think mahu is an insult now, you know. There's some people see, and some people in Hawaiians have used mahu, which is again, it's a queer identity in Hawaiian culture and very revered. They were very important, right? They were like very important, similar to a lot of like the shaman or spiritual leaders in a lot of indigenous Turtle Island and other cultures
were like not just like accepted, but like very revered. It was a very important thing to be, like kumuhina, right? But the word mahu came to be a pejorative, attacking. Some people think some people think that mahu is a slur. How screwed up is that in Hawaii? But that's what colonization does, right? It's about taking that thing, like John Romero, right? And his John Romero and his culture around him, saying, "Why is your hair long, John? Are you just you trying to be a rock star? It's too long. You should cut it off," right? You know, where is he said? Yeah, cut your hair, grow up. He's trying to be a rock star, right? You know, and so you know, and so similarly, right? Where that's just part of your culture, but it's become a denigrating, bad thing, you know. And so like mahu is a word that, you know, when you hear it, like even when I hear it sometimes, if I'm like not really thinking about it, it's been used in such a negative way, even around my own family that are like Hawaiian and Asian. They're actually, again, I said my family is more Pacific and Asian in terms of heritage, not blood quantum, because that's a colonizer made up concept to do racism and colonial capitalism and imperialism. But we're more Asian and Pacific Islander, but they use this against themselves and everyone around, because that's part of the Western culture erasure and cultural genocide and destruction. But to be clear, genocide is a term which sometimes it includes just overt killing, but it's more than just, because in a war or in a mass violent action, a lot of people could just be mass killed. But genocide is a very specific type of thing. And it doesn't always necessarily involve killing. It involves the removal and destruction of a culture. Sometimes it's just taking parents and children and separating them to stop the perpetuation of a people's way of life, language, culture, way of being, because a lot of times because it stands in the way of profit, of power, right? Like in an empire, it stands in the way of control and domination, and so you eradicate. Again, this is just old school Roman shit, you know. Indigenous culture, if you want to have a unified denarius using Roman speaking, Roman stormtrooper child harvesting for future empire conquest, you have to eviscerate and destroy everyone who used to be a indigenous Spanish person, an indigenous, one of many dozens of different indigenous French people that were in the place that's now called France. You have to eviscerate and annihilate the people who used to speak their indigenous languages in Britain and manufacture Romans, right? So when they come and you say, what are these mahu? They're practicing, what are they speaking this Hawaiian language? This Hawaiian language that has no gender pronoun. What? Not acceptable. Not acceptable. Hawaiian that has a communistic, collectivist, socialistic way of organizing economics, not acceptable. Erased. Banned. Genocide. You have to genocide. Capitalism, colonialism, empire, to expand requires a continual process of genocide, conquest, justification through a variety of a spectrum of very, very, very extreme direct violence, like just mass killing, just coming and bombing an entire country in a Stone Age, coming up and just dropping everybody on a flank of spears. But the Romans didn't always choose to genocide and conquer by just killing everyone. The preferred method for the Romans, you crucify a few people on a cross, like this old 2,000 years ago, they did this to a brown guy. And it did a brown guy of a non-Roman and indigenous culture, and they said, "Hey, person from this place that we're in, trying to practice ways and not collude with our oligarchic capitalist banks, because to be clear, the Romans also had capitalism, and people pretend like capitalism is a thing that recently just appeared out of nowhere. This is an ancient Western way. I would argue this is an ancient Western way. They were Roman financiers that collected on the burning of Rome, like Americans at PG&E collecting, and insurance companies collecting on the incineration of entire American zip codes on wildfire. This is not new. This idea of the myth of Western progress is one of the most toxic, one of the most destructive and self-destructive myths in the West. That's another shinao. You got to do this. The Romans preferred to, they would kill some people who stood up. If the Romans came in and people accepted, they just bent the knee and accepted allegiance to Rome, and they would even leave they might leave some of your cultural practices intact. Like they might leave a few Pharisees intact, But you have to operate in their way. You have to render unto Caesar what they need. You have to learn Roman, and you have to be subservient to them. And if they say X and Y, you have to submit X amount of youth to their military. You have to give them resources. You have to give them your extracted resources. And again, this internal metropole capitalism is just the least. It is just the least wealth extractive parts of empire, I would argue. In fact, the greatest suffer. Imperialism is the highest form of capitalism, because at the fringes is where you do the mega extraction. Like, I don't know, the global South today, in a global empire whose headquarters happens to be at the Indo-Pacific Command in Hawaii, especially Oahu under Red Hill. Anyways. So having, so the erasure of culture is very important to continued empire. And how does that tie into Peacemaker? So, when he's doing this dance scene, back to John Cena's nipples, when he's doing the dance scene, it shows that there is something that is under this masculine projection of type A man strength, right? What is accepted as macho in American Western culture, right? That's trying to exist. It doesn't know what to do with this other part of its personality. It's trying to put it in the closet here. It's trying to, it's like trying to deal with your internal, more feminine side by trying to make it acceptable to a toxic patriarchal America by hitting other dudes in the face and throwing them with a suplex, while also acting and coming up with stories and sewing costumes. Again, sewing is not acceptable in American Western patriarchal culture. That's not acceptable. So, we have some friends and people who work at Closet Champions, like that is like, to America, that's like gay bad stuff to America still. They want type A men that don't sew. They sit on Chinese skulls. That's what America wants. That's what Tucker Carlson. He is the most popular show in the United States. He represents mainstream America. That's what America wants from you. Still, this another toxic idea. Oh, that old aunt I have, that old grandma, grandpa, they're from another time. That's why they say racist things and N-word. No, America was and is racist with the rest of the West. America doesn't want, it's saying very clearly that it doesn't want a country where white and black and brown are all equal. It's getting rid of all the voting rights very quickly and rapidly. And it wants it pretends like it does a little bit under Biden. Biden is Mr. Crime Bill Biden. Biden is Mr. Segregation Biden. Biden is I love busing, and I'm going to blow this whole fucking planet up of all of its brown people and Asian and black people. Right? America doesn't want, the United States does not want John Cena's nipples. I'm just kidding. But America does not want to really, it seems, change. Like the people inside of it, they could be some, but America still is, I don't know if you know this, but a guy ran for president and won, being a complete idiot and nincompoop who failed at starting university businesses, playing businesses, running hotels. and he became president running on hyper racist garbage. You know, he ran on Adolf Hitler's program. He had his book next to his bedside table, on his bedside table, right? That's who America actually is. This character, Peacemaker, is America, the people in America trying to escape who they actually are, you know, or not necessarily who the people are, but what the country is and what it represents and who it actually is, which is the number one global fascist country, supports global fascism, supports global right-wing and capitalist entities across the world. Bolsonaro said, if this is who America is. Bolsonaro, who is an overt mask-off fascist, who said the problem with Brazil is we didn't exterminate enough indigenous people. Bolsonaro said that. Bolsonaro said, if a left-wing government wins in Brazil, he's planning to move to the United States. There's a reason why the overt fascist people, it's not the first time, it's all of Ted Cruz and Andy Ngo's parents. All the world's, United States is the world's fascist, capitalist, right-wing dumpster. That's what America is. All of your shittiest world people, that's where Ted Cruz came from, that's where Marco Rubio came from, that's where Andy Ngo fucking came from. All their parents were all the people who got their asses kicked by global socialists, communists, you know, people who respected women and gay and people of color's rights, kicked out all their fucking fascist capitalist T-1000, you know, from Brazil, South America, Asia, Africa, etc. And they all come into America and they all work on, ask Luna Oy about this, making color revolution with the USAID and USAID, NED in the highest levels of the US actual United States government to foment and undo the socialist, communist, actual lefts in their country. That's what America actually is. I know you can't see that, but, you know, because if you live in a small pocket of mostly nice suburban or nice upstate New York with a WASP area and you never seen a Panda Express or McDonald's because that's how rich you are. Some people that are on YouTube, they're like that. Overprivileged, you know, people, you know, you might not see the full scale of what it is, but that's what it is, you know? That's what it is. You are Peacemaker. To be clear, Peacemaker goes into other countries in the Suicide Squad and exterminates people and puts down and does the bidding of the United States. Kills innocent women and children for the United States. That's what he does. Everybody knows him as that racist superhero. But that's who Captain America is. You know, that's why Peacemaker is very important, because he's the same kind of, like, similar skin tone, similar outfit scheme, similar red, white, and blue, color theme, and similar symbology on him. But he's like super fucked up, an idiot, and like really malicious, you know? And it's like, but you know, and importantly, he's like, it's not because his skin tone and because who his daddy is, he is like irrevocably, irredeemably evil. The person. I'm not saying I don't know what the United States is like as a political entity. I mean, I agree the United States is only 2,000 of the richest, most powerful, racist, capitalist, anti-LGBTQ plus people on the face of the earth. But the person that's living inside of what's called itself the United States is not like evil and wrong because his skin tone and, you know, what, you know, who he's from and where he's from, right? But and he has the possibility of getting better, right? And like not, and being less of a shitty ass person working for it, right? But part of that involves like you know, when you're working for Waller, who is like represents the U.S. government, literally is the U.S. government and military and paramilitary forces that's pushing into South American countries and around the world special forces to undo. They're not overthrowing a government overtly in Suicide Squad, but they're going into global South countries, the Suicide Squad, and killing and crushing for the United States that is shown to be the ultimate. That's why I actually appreciate the Suicide Squad, the recent one with John Cena as Peacemaker, because the ultimate evil is not Russia, communism, which is fucking, that's the problem with Black Widow, which I did a stream about 3 months ago, or something out there like the evil space Russians in Avengers that are like Thanos is gonna. People who have a one-child policy or half the population, but faster and with much more glittery ices with cosmic power and snapping. They're a lot less snappy. Thanos is space Russia, China. That's basically what it is. It was written in that time. It's very clear. It's like it's not actually. It's what America projects communists to be. Again, you got to be real. America is anti-communist. It's anti-socialist. It's anti-left. It has been. It was in the 50s. It was super in the Cold War, and it really is now. And so, we got that point has to be made. If you want to be a leftist in America, I mean, you got to acknowledge that, and then you got to not stop, but you got to remember that's what it is. And then going, we're gonna have a patriot left. It's just like you can have a patriot liberal. That's about as close as you're gonna get. So, but it never acknowledges. But the Suicide Squad at least acknowledges that the U.S. is ordering its military and people into other countries, is not ultimately there to help. It's there to kill innocent people for its own interests. It's there to cover up its own crimes. And it is ultimately the highest level. It is actually behind a lot of the greatest evils, and then it projects itself as the savior. So that's why I appreciate the Suicide Squad is one superhero, and I think it has something to say that it's James Gunn and there's other people involved in it. Taika Waititi was up on that set. I think it's very much out of the realm of the Avengers and the entities, people, and forces that and spheres of influence that put together the Avengers. And you can like feel it, at least I can, in the political valencies and the way that certain entities, organizations, countries, and systems are projected and painted, which is really what ultimately matters in terms of edutainment, which is not. I want to say that everything is edutainment. Everything is simultaneously entertaining in some way and educating. Even if you're just reading a novel, it's delightful. People, or even if you're just reading like an article about any topic, the political situation in Kazakhstan or COVID-19, it's you're being engaged and you're being entertained, and then you're also being educated. You're learning something about the world every time you're reading, right? And this idea that they're separate is one of the Western waffle brain compartmentalizations that is kind of also damaging. And that's the CIA understands, but don't want its people to understand. But anyways, so peace, I appreciate that in Suicide Squad. And then the Peacemaker is kind of like a continuation of, where did this kind of like really, and the Peacemaker is kind of a representative of somebody who really buys America's story of itself, right? John Cena said it himself in an interview recently. I think it was on Jimmy Fallon. Was like, Peacemaker is somebody who wants to be a hero, who wants to be a superhero. And I think he said something like, being a superhero is about, doing the right thing, right? Under difficult circumstances. Being a hero means doing the right thing under difficult circumstances. Something along those lines. But the Peacemaker is having very hard times doing that, or is very much misled and confused about what it is, right? And has his own internal flaws, right? That is stopping him from actually doing the right thing, either consciously or sometimes consciously and sometimes unconsciously, right? But it's somebody who really aspires to be a hero, though. He has all of his lawn ornaments are like American Abrams tanks. He has a pet eagle called Eagly. he's painted his trailer park trailer red, white, and blue, and it's all flaking with brown rust, and the star spangles are all cracking off, into weird asymmetrical polygons now. And it's very much a good metaphor for the United States. His trailer, and it's like that thing that rusty red, white, and blue behind the head, behind these characters here in this image. It's a really good illustration, and it's somebody who aspires to it but doesn't know how to doesn't know why people are laughing at him. Doesn't really understand. He wants to. But the important thing about Peacemaker is that he doesn't understand why he's doing his orders, and he believes America is bringing peace, human rights, freedom, justice, liberty, and capitalism, which is a good thing, and efficient business. He thinks that anybody's going. How come? Well, I'm going to kill women and children, but it's going to be for the right reasons. I'm going to bring peace. I'm going to bring good things to you. I'm going to be a hero, right? But then, and then Rick Flag, tells him, Peacemaker, what a joke, Somebody who is actually, he kind of, they're in competition, but, it's clear, he's somebody who is in the U.S. and in its military forces. Because, the Suicide Squad is kind of, they're all, convicts who are all rounded up by the U.S., to go off and do its dirty work, right? But the Joel Kinnaman's character, Rick Flag, is a higher up in the military. That's and so he's kind of well, this person is. Peacemaker looks up to him and goes well, this guy is higher in the U.S., so I have to listen to what he says. And then he but Peacemaker says well, actually, but then there's another person who's giving him other orders, and that is even higher in the U.S. So okay, well, that other person is a higher level government official of the U.S. So I think I really should do what they say, because the U.S. is good, and if you're higher in the U.S., you're even more gooder and you're more heroic, right? Because I believe American story about itself. So he gets into this conflict where it's two people in this country and this military and this government I look up to are telling me contradicting things. And, you can see it, the way John Cena's character is, the way it plays out. And he's Peacemaker, what a joke. You see it in the beginning of the show, right? As he does something horrible, he does something really horrible. Peacemaker does something really horrible. And then he gets his ass kicked by Idris Elba's character. And it's he in the beginning of the show, he's in the hospital. He gets out of the hospital, and he doesn't know kind of how to deal with this. It's I just got shot. A building fell on me. I didn't save anyone. I don't know. Can I get out of this hospital? Are they gonna track me down or what? But it's he's kind of like lost in that reality. He's starting to question who is. What does it mean to be a hero? Have I been the bad guy this whole time? It's kind of it's not really coming to the forefront yet, but it's clear that it's a thing that he has to struggle with, and why is everybody laughing at me? Why is everybody laughing at me? I'm trying to be a good guy. And actually, there's an important scene early on where it's Peacemaker is talking to the janitor character, who is an ex-MIT super high level mathematician, quantum physicist, some kind of scientist or technologist of some sort. And Peacemaker is talking to him, right? And he as he's getting out of the hospital, and the janitor, is a non-white, Asian, brown person. And Peacemaker is oh, haven't you heard of me? I'm the Peacemaker. And he's I'm a superhero. He's what? No, I don't know about no Peacemaker. He's Aquaman, Batman, Superman. He's those are real superheroes. He's no, I'm Peacemaker. He's never heard of you. No, I'm the guy with the dove on the chest. And he's oh, Peacemaker, you're that racist superhero. And John Cena's character's what? No, I'm not racist. and the Indian character is like, well, why are you always going after and killing brown and black people all the time? You know, why are you killing non-white people all the time? And Peacemaker's like, well, I'm just here to fight for justice. I'm here to I'm here to fight crime. And you know, I can't, I don't have the superpower to change the ethnicity of the criminal. And then the Indian guy's like, well, I mean, can you just like not be constantly watching all the brown and black people? Can you watch some white people more often and not just like, you know, I mean, it's like you know, and Peacemaker's like, I mean, there's lots of white criminals out there doing all kind of criminal stuff. Like, I don't know, billionaires that are laundering, destroying the entire fucking planet, all of Wall Street. You go to DC, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, all it is criminals up. You go to fucking Orange County, you throw a stone, you find a war criminal. You know, can you watch some of the white criminals, you know, and just, you know, just generally the racist policing disproportionately black people in fucking prison? Can you just like be more proportional with the crimes that you're watching and watch people doing more worse and heinous crimes? And then Peacemaker, I mean, he doesn't say all of that, but it comes up in the first 2 minutes of the show. And then Peacemaker is like, okay, fine. Oh, fine. I'll try to find more white people doing more crimes. Okay, are you happy? And the guy's like, yes. You know, and of course that's not all of, you know, that's not all of the problems of racism in the United States. But the important thing is, like, you know, this is like a problem. It's brought up, and it's like the reaction could be like, no, that's not a problem. You're just whining. You non-white person are cherry picking. You know, it's kind of like, oh shit, maybe I fucked up. I should think, you know, maybe I should, you know, consider this valid criticism. And there's a lot of people in the United States who are going, oh, those people that are Black Lives Matter are just whiners. Black Lives Matter are just like over exaggerating. How many police arrest how many non-white people? This is the people, they deserved it. George Floyd had drugs on him. George Floyd's knee jumped up and hit Derek Chauvin George Floyd's neck jumped up and hit Derek Chauvin in the knee. You know, the Kenosha shooter was just like deeply misunderstood, and he was just defending himself. All those people were nasty criminals, and they have criminal records, and you know, and that's still the attitude of most of the United States, right? And so it's, you know, it's important to go like, well, I mean, maybe we have to like actually like listen and just like listen to what they're saying. And, you know, you don't have to like take all the orders of what the non-white person is or the marginalized person is saying. But it's just like, this is a problem. Hear it. Feel uncomfortable. And then like try to fix your problems, you know? And not just for racism, like everything, you know? You suck at dealing with COVID. No. China's hiding their numbers. You know, you suck at economic inequality. Vietnam has, you know, again, 1,000 times less homelessness, malnutrition deaths, no threat of fascism, universal healthcare, and it's poorer than you, and you suck. No. Vietnam is capitalist, actually. No. Vietnam is bad because the right wing is like, Vietnam is bad because it's communist. The left wing of the West is, Vietnam is bad because it's capitalist. The center is like, Vietnam is bad because it doesn't do what exactly we say. You know? Hey, try to like listen to the valid criticisms, you know, of your shitty Western country. Feel bad a little bit. Feel uncomfortable. Laugh at it, you know? Laugh at your star-spangled failure a little bit. Your toilet bowl people with toilet seat helmets. Yeah? Just laugh at it a little bit. And then like try to not suck as much next time. You know? It's not that hard. You know? Don't, oh my God, I can't hear that. You're a bunch of whiners. SJW, woke cancel culture people coming for all of my white talented comedians. You're all talentless hacks. I'm sorry. Oh, you're coming for my country. Oh my God, there's a white genocide coming for us. Settle down. Take the valid criticism. Don't collapse into civil war and fascism and, you know, and kill yourself. You know, we're trying, you know, it's very important.
the global South, indigenous people, BIPOC people, people from socialist countries, Vijay Prashad, the nation, right, is over here. That whole thing about Danny Haifong had a whole thing about this. There in what was that? There's a huge article that was everywhere about what the Western left has to do, right? What was it? They went after Vijay Prashad. They went after Danny Haifong. They went after Child Collective, And let me see if I can find a Child Collective. They went after everybody that's trying to just describe China and the United States and their systems and the people accurately. Vijay Prashad is like Vijay Prashad, like this, I believe this Indian person, is just saying true things to white Western world, right? Vijay Prashad is like, hey, China's producing your buckets. China's producing your nuts and bolts, right? Vijay's like, China is producing your phones. And then you outsource everything to China. You call it the global polluter. You produce your own goddamn buckets, phones, and shit, and then see if you can and see your carbon emissions rise. Like, he's just saying true stuff, and people don't want to hear it, people, not people, like a lot of people don't want to hear it. They just, what's our solution? Let's just attack VJ. Let's just attack Child Collective. Let's say that they're all liars. Let's say that they're all genocide deniers, right? Let's just ignore reality. Again, just here, you have a colonial mentality and you have a colonial structures. It's called your IMF, your WTO, your World Bank, and you have your colonial murderers. It's called the U.S. military and all NATO and your alliances. Hear that, try to address that, and fucking fix yourself so you don't all die from climate change, COVID, economic inequality, and fascism that's spreading throughout Europe and the United States. Hear that. Don't be a toilet bowl, people. We have to commit ourselves to smashing social hierarchies. There's this huge article. China had to clear U.S. bombs half a year before landing. Anyway, here. Danny has a good article on this. Danny needs money. Danny needs more Patreon. A lot of people are leaving Danny's Patreon. Danny is the last journalist in the United States. One of the few remaining actual people who say true things in the United States when it really counts, where it really counts. Many on the so-called left view China and the U.S. as equally oppressive, imperialist in character. This is a historic trend dating back to the Cold War, which divided the Western left into many camps. Anyways, it was a report in The Nation demonstrates how neither Washington nor Moscow has been replaced with neither Washington nor Beijing. David Klein attacks leftists, saying that they're divided into those apologists and the Chinese who prioritize human rights, right? The human rights people are the people that are going, the Uyghurs need their human rights. David Klein is Peacemaker. He's ignorant Peacemaker. We're going to bring human rights to Muslims. The left has to bring David Klein, right? Is the American that's trying to get all of the other Americans to, like Peacemaker, go around the world and bring human rights, peace, freedom, and democracy by intervening, right? And Danny and everyone else and everyone he's attacking, he's attacking Vijay Prashad. He's attacking, who mischaracterized all of Vijay's words. He suggested that Vijay believes in cultural genocide. He's attacking Child Collective, and he's going, you people, you're horrible because you don't support the United States saving the world. You don't support the United States saving Uyghurs, saving South Americans. You don't support the United States saving Taiwanese people who are indigenous people that are Asian, Hakka, and Asian Han under Dutch and Japanese imperial colonial occupation. And actually, they're related to us.
and they're not Western. These are both Western colonies, Taiwan and Hong Kong, that were broken off from China and filled with fascists, and were the base of operations for anti-communism. You know, but the U.S. is going to go in and save Taiwan and Hong Kong and Xinjiang. You know, the U.S. is going to go in and save Ukraine. U.S. The ahistoricality of all of Europe, the U.S. and Canada. You can't even see how horrific it is. The Ukraine was the number one point of influx of fascists that slaughtered millions upon millions of communists, of Russians, and the U.S. has backed the most corrupt, and Europe as well backed the most corrupt right wing. They literally fly fucking swastikas in the Ukraine, and they're saying they're as the U.S. and Europe always had, and the people in the U.S. and Europe that have no education, right, are still supporting this, you know, and this Nation article is all about fomenting more uneducated Western peacemaker activity, you know, in terms of like going around the world and doing what he does, which is saving you by killing women, children, communists, LGBTQ plus people, killing Asians and blacks and brown peoples around the world to bring what? Western liberal capitalist democracy? Yeah, that's basically what they say they want to bring. You know, anyway, so I mean, just another way to look at it. So, you know, and so the solution is not, oh, you know what we need to do is just kind of like not listen to those people. You know, let's just not hear the Global South's critique. You know, let's not hear. Let's listen to David Klein, you know, imperialist fucking cutout. Let's listen to people from New York and DC with very nice situations, right? Or people that are paid off by these people to silence the global suffering, you know, and peace, you know. So anyway, so that's a very, you know, John Cena also, you know, in Fast and Furious, you know, John Cena apologized. John Cena apologized to China. Actually, I'm gonna play some of this for you real fast. So, you know, and Vin Diesel was part of this process, but you know, as I brought this up previously, John Cena had said something during a video promoting Fast 9 last year, right? And he said something like, "I'm so happy that the country of Taiwan is going to get to see Fast 9. I hope you guys really enjoy it." Of course, you know, the problem is the one China policy. Taiwan is part of China, right? And so that's a big, really sore point, and a very big, for many reasons that I go over often in Twitter and on social media and in panels and on these streams. And John Cena apologized for it. Here's his apology.
Former pro wrestler John Cena has touched off an international controversy.
Cena apologized to the people of China after calling Taiwan a country during a promotional interview with a Taiwanese broadcaster.
Taiwan is a country. I mean, it's a...
Okay, so this is, let's hear it.
你好，中国，这是赵西娜。我做很多采访，很多。所以在一个采访，我有一个错误，所有人问我如果我可以用中文，速度与激情有人给我，所以很多采访，很多我有一个错误，我必须说现在就是很重要。
Anyway, so he goes into a full apology, you know. So you know, even before this, people, John Cena. Not only is John Cena has a lot of other things that people don't realize about him. Like he always wanted to star in a Broadway space opera mockumentary, and possibly play Rocky Horror Picture Show's
Dr. Frankenfurter, you know, and that's why he's singing into a vibrator, 80s metal, you know. Not only doing that, but John Cena also was saying based ass shit and getting a lot of flack for it in 2021. And you know, I have entire threads about Vin Diesel's history, and you know, I have my whole Riddick and how Riddick, you know, how Riddick is about the space slave catchers and this and about it was an anti-cop and anti-US and anti-police and world police a series, right? I see if I have the actual thread on this. No, I don't have it. Silver Spook, Mass Effect, you know, and you know, it's clear. I mean, I don't have all the receipts on. I don't study these people, right? Where's the goddamn thread? I don't have it somewhere. Yeah, Riddick is better than Mass Effect because it centers the space prisoners and craps on space slave catchers, the police and the space world police, and the U.S. military depicted in the Necromangers. And so Chronicle. I mean, so Vin, who worked in Fast 9, is definitely in the same kind of. John Cena is definitely like in the same kind of camp, at least now. And also, just like as a business, you know, it's like, do you want to like sell tickets? You know where the tickets were being sold, you know, and they still are. The biggest market is China, and you know, letting your anti-Asian racism and your imperialism and all your ridiculous anti-communism, right, engendered by the United States and your toxic father. You see your CIA cop daddy. I mean, literally, if they were in the CIA or in the police, or if they abide by the disinformation campaign, which is complete only when everything the American public believes in is false. Thus spoketh former CIA director William Casey. You know, and so he doesn't. You know, he's not somebody who is like giving into that. He's just like, well, I guess I'm gonna take flack, but I'm gonna like come clean on that. So anyway, so he said that already. He said that already in 2021. So anyway, there's a pattern happening, you know, that I'm seeing. My point with that whole thing about Vin Diesel, about how Riddick deals with the space slave catchers. Where the fuck? I keep losing on my threads. You know, and centers again the best man, the most empathic, relatable, good person in Riddick is a black Muslim person in New Mecca. And in a West Asian coded place. Mecca is, you know, of course, New Mecca, which is like the Palestinians had one of the most peaceful places. They had the coexistence of Christians, Muslims, and Jews without ethnic strife. And then the U.S. showed up. And what did it do? Oh, that's right. It set up its West Asian platform for projecting U.S. imperial power, capitalism on literal settler, real-time 1800s style settler colonialism in a place that starts with a P and it ends with a Stein. And I don't want to get this stream taken down. So anyways, so that was already kind of happening last year. And so I think that this show is just kind of a continuation of this. I'm not saying that every show he's ever been in is like that, but it's the beginning of a pattern. And if we want to be dialectical materialists, to use a Western English term, This is part of a pattern. If you hang out too long with Vin Diesel, you know, you might accidentally just start getting based if you weren't before. You know, you might actually accidentally start making movies about how spoiled, rich, white, Euro aristo and American aristo pricks are fucking ruining this world, right? Like F9, you know. And so, and if you already had that tendency, it will be further encouraged. And your non-Western imperial centered perspective, which, you know, Vin definitely spent most of his time nowadays outside the U.S. for good reason. But anyways, so with Peacemaker, back to kind of I'm dancing all over the world's topics, but you know, it's very much about like acknowledging these problems, facing these problems. You know, there's lots of more funny stuff. I could go on this thing forever. I'm going to go on this more. There's a scene where like he's being attacked for his ridiculous costume in the diner. Peacemaker in the diner scene, yeah.
you know, he says some of the most gross, sexist things, but he's saying all of these things. He calls like the waitress in this scene when he's like having the meal, right, with his new co-workers, right? He's got Tasty there. I mean, the black woman there is from Orange is the New Black. She's like one of the new recruits. One of the guys from Suicide Squad. His new would-be girlfriend, but not that into him. Actually, she's just not that into you, John. The white girl in the front, and then the new kind of commander is the other black person behind. In the back, and they're all having a meeting with him for the first time. They're like, "Who the hell is this guy?" He walks in his entire costume, and they're like, you know, he's like, "What are you doing? Why are you wearing this ridiculous costume?" And he's like, "You know, this isn't a costume, okay? This is a uniform. I'm just trying to stretch it out, break it in before I'm going on my first mission." You know, he's like fully serious. He's like, "I am seriously," and they're like, how is that appropriate? Why would you wear that into this diner, let alone on a mission? Like bright red and blue and a glowing super specular silver helmet is not conducive to stealth when we're trying to infiltrate an enemy base. And he's all like, this uniform, it strikes terror into the hearts of my enemies. And he's like serious. And then they're like, and then he calls the waitress and he says, and then the guy's like, "And why is there an eagle in your car?" And he says, "Well, you know, it's my pet eagle. His name is Eagly." And he's like, "Your eagle's name is Eagly?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, do you have a dog name that's Dogly? And do you have a daughter that's named Daughtery? And he's like, "Jealous of a guy's pet eagle much?" He's like fully serious. The cat, but you know, so it's kind of like, you know, the character is like, you know, it's like he really believes in what he's in his bullshit. You know, we have Holly has we have somebody in our friends and family circle that looks absolutely ridiculous. Like looks like a 1930s like striped red and like striped shirt circus strongman. And is kind of ridiculous and wrong about so many things. And it's like, it's kind of like, my God, this person is like a cartoon, but it's like, there are a lot of cartoon people in the US and the West. I mean, we had a cartoon president. We have two. Biden is also a cartoon president. He's a cartoon, slightly less mask off, racist white man from the mid 20th century, you know, Biden, and then we had full cartoon Trump, you know, and it's like, but the West is kind of a cartoon of itself already, you know. You've got 850,000 fucking cases, 1 million deaths. Europe, US, you're through the roof, and you're talking about, you know, literally hiding your own numbers and saying China's hiding numbers. You're a cartoon. This is a joke, you know, and so it's kind of perfectly representational of what the West has become, you know. And everyone else is looking at him like, "What the hell is wrong with you? What?" But he's like, but the West is still kind of serious about itself. You know, it's like you look at a Carl Jha post. Carl Jha, our educator friend on the Asia Pacific Mega Panel, and it's like all Carl has to do, right? If I go to Carl's Twitter right now, I'm gonna find something fucking hilarious that is just looking at the United States. You know what I'm saying? It's just looking at the US or any BBC, UK, some AUKUS member, and it's gonna be fucking hilarious, right? Like, I mean, other than Carl Jha's beautiful wedding pictures in Bali. You know, it's like prophetic words from Professor in 2003. Last 20 years certainly bear out division. Can India overtake China? You know, as India's fucking falling apart. You know, it's just China's zero COVID policy. This is from the great country of Britain, the great empire, right? China's zero COVID policy, China's zero COVID tyranny is backfiring badly. President Xi's inability to back down on a failing strategy threatens the country's growth miracle, the height of Western enlightenment and civilization.
United Kingdom's daily COVID cases, 81,713. A total of 15,287 new deaths. A total of 151,899. Britain actually has more per capita deaths than the United States. So, you know, you are a fucking clown show. You are like, this is more laughable than toilet seat head. You know, you are a joke. You know, Peacemaker, what a joke. Great Britain, what a great joke. America, what a joke. You are a joke of yourself. You are a joke. There is no way that John Cena has tight enough whiteys and a star-spangled, vibrating, eagle-shaped sex toy to sing into that could be as ridiculous as the US and the UK actually are. You know? There's nothing funnier than your garbage hell, your literal garbage hell, your garbage toilet countries, and especially the governments and the ruling classes that run them. There is nothing more laughable than this, you know? But John comes close, you know? John and his nipples come very close, you know? That's pretty close. That's, I gotta say, you know, the Bon Jovi, you know, intense face with the spirit fingers. That comes close. The nipples come close. Anyway, I should probably be getting off soon. PSA, by the way, you know, and so, you know, I put this thread out, you know, just a couple more things. Oh my God, what a joke. What a joke. Look, this is you. This is you. With your 173 cases in China, contains economy and people preserved, no threat of fascism, no homelessness. You know, you over there with your 783,000 and exploding. Your teachers are like all quitting. Your nurses are all quit. Your hospitals falling the fucking apart. You are a joke country. You're more every day more joke. How bad does it gotta get to you like stop throwing these ridiculous accusations and start learning, you know, to be better? Like, this is just sad. I mean, it's funny and then it's sad. Like Peacemaker, you know? It's funny and then it's also sad. You know, I don't want to wake up and watch you die and attack the country that could save your ass. But that's what you do every day, you know? And COVID-19 is blamed on Asians. No, this is in response to this, you know, and then what you are running out of people because Elon Musk, you know, and the US life expectancy dropped like 2 years in 2020. We're running out of people because you're killing them all, and not what you're going to replace it with Asians that you've been spending the last 2 years from left, right, and center denigrating, attacking, blaming for COVID, calling to sit on the throne of their fucking Chinese skulls. You think you're going to replace the U.S. and all of your dying people from COVID, economic inequality, lack of health care, wars, violence, you know, internal fascist violence, all kind of self-immolatory violence, you know, just suicide rates. You think you're going to replace your dying empire with Asians? And Luda's like, more and more people are dying because COVID failed. Easy, bring more immigrants, you know? And I'm like, U.S., you blame COVID-19 on Asians, existing anti-Asian racism, further inflamed by imperialist propaganda that we're always talking about. We know what this is. Oh no, we're dying out. Come to U.S., Asians. I mean, how much more sad comedy can we? How much is more depressingly sad, but also like freaking just uproariously, you know, thunderously comedic can you get? Asian Americans suffer the highest poverty rate of any racial group in New York City. Radio Free Amanda. I want to talk to Amanda one of these days on something. But you know, Chinese women rummaging through recyclable cans. More than 9,000 anti-Asian incidents reported since the pandemic began. You know,
You 1,000%, 800% in Vancouver. Just knocking over elderly on the street. All your people all across the spectrum, united, Biden and Trump, in attacking China. Biden ran on, I'm going to be more harsh on China than Trump. Your wholesale imperialist violence trickling down into retail, interpersonal violence in your countries. You got fucking guy who said he was having a bad day. Police, sex addict, Georgia gunman killed 8 people. Sorry, he was 21 years old. He killed 8 people, including 6 Asian women at massage parlors because he wanted to eliminate temptation. This is the kind of people. And then the police and your news stations are like just brushing this off. This is how you treat your Asians. Man murders chef, injures 2 with hammer because he had problems with Asian men. The person that killed this person got off the hook, by the way. Literally, like you gonna replace your dying, failed so-called civilization, your civilization, the risk of Elon Musk. Oh, I'm so worried about the future of civilization. Maybe try being civilized. Maybe try having a society one time that's functional. You clown. The 3 violent assaults on Asians in 3 days, 1 murder, all in one city. Why would Asians come to the U.S. to be cannon fodder, scapegoats, and underpaid servants? And just in the last day. Deranged man shoves Asian woman into her death in front of an oncoming subway train Saturday morning. You say deranged, you say all these disorders. What it is you, the United States, are anti-Asian racist. Your empire, your warmongers that are fomenting war in China, your business community that wants to push China back down and stop its Thucydides trap, and all the people together who have unaddressed anti-Asian racism are killing Asians and harming them. The horrifying episode unfolded around. Anyways, this is just from today, and this is one of 3 separate attacks. Person of interest is taken into custody. Anyway, and now you want to replace your depopulating, your self-exterminating United States population declines with Asians. And again, so this is I want to go over a little of this because I've talked about this on the Twitter, and I made an entire thread about it. So it's important to remember, and I know I bring it up often, but let's bring it up one more time. The U.S. is anti-Asian racist online and offline, historically and presently, left, right, and center. This is the virus was fully blamed. Trump said I don't know. Do you remember what your president said? If you just blocked that out of your memory, Americans, Wuhan flu, Kung flu, and everybody was picking this up. CCP is China is stealing our technology. China is destroying America. China is threatening human rights in China. China is going to invade the West Coast. China is doing China this at what cost? China's technology. China's cracking down on China. China's brought Wuhan lab leak. Democrat, Republican, fake left, right, center, and fake left across the West. There's no left in the West. All day, all long. China. And then you got all this attacks. Still ongoing economic inequality, right? 2,800 incidents, 70% assaults, shunning, coughed and spat on, workplace discrimination, verbal harassment. You are every Chinese student is a CCP spy. That's why that's part of why Chow Collective. I shouldn't say that's why, but that's part of obviously an impetus for Chow Collective, which is a lot of Chinese university students, professors, etc. Why are we all suddenly evil Chinese communist and infiltrators just because we're Asian in the university system? Do you want to have fucking supercomputers? We're the ones that are inventing it. Do you want the most advanced renewable technology? We're the ones inventing it. Do you want high-speed rail? Do you want space travel? Do you want artificial sun, infinite clean energy fusion? We're the ones inventing it. But why are we all criminals? Every 8 hours, the U.S. federal government was opening a case against a Chinese academic researcher in the universities of the United States. China, and this is based on a history of the greatest mass lynching, set on fire, and expulsions from communities, and the Chinese Exclusion Act of anti-Asian racism. Because China was a shock to Western supremacy, a system of meritocratic government deeply troubling to a West built on stratified class privilege. Civilization without hereditary aristocrats was unfathomable and terrifying to a Western ruling class. Again, this predated formal Western United States capitalism. Very important when I talk about the myth of Western progress from slavery, feudalism, capitalism, social democracy, something. This has been the case. The stratified class privilege is the same process under slightly more mask on with capitalism, which is shadow thrones of $100 bills like Mr. Bezos and Mr. Musk sit on. But anyway, Marx, Asiatic mode of production. Hegel, Oriental despotism. Montesquieu, Oriental despotism. Liberty. So these are French, American, German, UK, aristos, left, right, and center in the 16, 17, 18, 1900s, and now. It's been the same simmering anti-Asian racism, anti-communism, anti-socialism, anti-orient, and it's still almost all unaddressed, even in the Western, what it calls itself left. So anyway, I could go off on that forever. So, and Luna says, I never suffered direct racism in my life until I went online and met most of you people. I suffered direct racism for most of my fucking entire life. And that's why I said, Luna, I don't know if you know this, but the U.S. is massacring, and it has massacred on top of committing all other forms of violence against Asian women. It really loves violence and hypersexualization of the Asian women. I don't know if you know this, Luna. I don't know if EJ has communicated how fucked up this place is. But also, watch this panel, Yellow Peril, Red Scare. Also, my own family's community. And I've done this before, so we'll skip some of this. But here's one more thing. Since we're in Hawaii, speaking of failures, in the 1800s, there was a ship, the Kinta, docked in Hawaii with a white crew infected with smallpox, but scapegoated Chinese for the plague. But in Hawaii, where we Hawaiians had universal health care, the highest literacy rate, and a successful anti-racist socialist indigenous civilization, as I often discuss, we did contact tracing and had universal health care. Hey, America, learn from 1800s Hawaii. Hey, America, learn from China today. We had universal health care and contact tracing, and we discovered that it was not the dirty Chinese that you are still attacking as the dirty, sick, virus-transmitting Chinese, and your disgusting eating practices are transmitting it from bats to Chinese, and all this gross racist shit. Hawaiians discovered after the ship departed, people of this white ship had deserted the ship, reported people who had died, succumbed to smallpox, and there were 2 Chinese on King Street. Importantly, the takeaway is that this is from the words of our elected leader of Hawaii. The disease smallpox was not seen among the Chinese passengers of the ship outside of 2 Chinese who had mild symptoms, and the disease was spread to our nation from the white crew of an American ship, a Western ship. And this is from Hawaii Story by Hawaii Screen. So in Hawaii, we knew and addressed this, and we're not perfect society, but we're like, hey, let's not be anti-Asian racist. Let's bring the Chinese in, and they can help us to farm, and they can help us cultivate our land with their practices, and we're having our population decimated by Western viruses, and we tried to stop that. You know what else Hawaiians did? We vaccinated, locked down, and controlled viruses without protests, and stopped outbreaks. Things that the U.S. and the West, everyone's gonna get Omicron and basically eugenics project. Let's just let it rip and let everybody die that deserves to die because they're weak, or they're disabled, or they're vulnerable. That's the West. Hawaiians did this with much less technology. 25 years before Germany thought of having a universal healthcare, we already had it. And you should really learn from people who knew what they were doing, like the Hawaiians of the 1800s, and people who know what they're doing, like the Chinese in 2022. Not just then, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. But you don't want to learn. You want to just scream at me and go, oh, Silver Spooky is just the SJW, will cancel this, and oh, you're just complaining. Oh, the Chinese are all harming us, and there's just a bunch of. So people replied to this thread. A lot of people replied to this thread. They said, I'm gonna tag this for fragile Chinese snowflakes and straw man argument and all this shit. And I'm like, okay, keep not learning. That's really sad. and it's not funny. That's not funny. That's not funny. You know, that's mostly just sad. You know, that's just that what you just said right there. This is funny. I'm trying to find the that's not funny like this. When you say you know, that's just sad like this. You know, I'm gonna keep being that shitty person. I'm just gonna keep being a racist, anti-communist, anti-LGBTQ shitty person. That's just sad. You know, that's just sad that you're gonna keep killing yourself and suffering. That's too bad. And you know, and so this is of course Queen Emma Kalani Kaumaka Amano Kaleleo Nalani Naeruk, the mother of universal healthcare, 1859, Queen's Medical System, Hawaii. Wikipedia doesn't want to admit this because Wikipedia, the source of so-called universal knowledge and global education for everyone, right, is still lying about the fact that Hawaiians invented universal healthcare because it's Eurocentric, white supremacist, billionaire libertarian Jimmy Wales run Wikipedia. So that's Wikipedia. That's also just sad. And all the white CIA editors of Wikipedia are, you know, just mostly white privileged assholes. That's sad for you that you can't admit that truth on your shitty website. You know, that's just sad. So anyway, that's why. So you know that's what. And so anyway, so what the point of this is, you know, I make this thread so that people you can I'm not just making this thread, you know. I share this not because I just want to piss you off, you know. I don't want to share this because I want to gotcha, you know. I share this because these historical and present racisms cannot be ignored, but they have to be recognized, addressed, rooted out, understood as part of a colonial capitalist mentality and system so that you can have a successful left within the U.S. Even if you just want to deal with COVID-19, you got to get past that racism. You want to deal with climate change, you got to get past the racism, work with China to coordinate international environmental policy and learn from their strategies that they are successful at. You want to deal with war, you got to stop making war with China. Nuclear war, subnuclear kinetic war, catastrophic global apocalyptic war, you got to stop this racism. You got to address this. You got to stop this, you know? You got to what? What do you got to do? You got to accept how wrong and ridiculous you are and then change. And I recommend when you do your brain cleaning, consider Tide, you know, for your tidy whities, Tide with bleach, you know, or just a generic brand of soap when you do your brain cleaning and your heart cleaning. And your clothes cleaning, because there's a lot of blood on that shirt right there. Anyways, this is the end of the stream. Neofeud is a dystopic cyberpunk adventure game in the vein of Blade Runner with an overlay of Game of Thrones-like political intrigue and hand-painted, stylized visuals. It is a game that supports everything that we do here. It is a game that is about feudalism, neo-feudalism, capitalism, colonialism, imperialism, the descendants of unhealed Roman trauma, and everything we just talked about, but with a lot more Matrix agents getting shot with liquid T1000 metal coming out of their holes as they fight against fully automated luxury space fascist capitalist eldritch immortal white trillionaires. Anyway, if that sounds interesting, consider checking out Neofeud. Also, Disco Elysium is a game that's like Neofeud, but this Neofeud has more cyberpunk characteristics. If you have a second to leave even a very short review, it is massively appreciated, as it does help us get the game discovered when people are browsing on Steam. Neofeud is a multi-dimensional representation of Das Kapital, and that was one of our reviews for all of our people of English, French, and Spanish speaking who are of the left persuasion. Neofeud is also discoverable and gettable on itch for Windows, Mac, and Linux. It is also on sale. It is also get it DRM free. You can also support everything that we do here with the maximum revenue going to the creators on itch.io. You can also help us out. I should probably shout out a few more things. You can also check out these other things that we have, including Decolonators, which is a game where you play a Vietnamese Asian woman communist. All the things that Peacekeeper's daddy really, really, really doesn't like women, people of color, communism, non-red, white, and blue things, empathy generally. So Decolonizers is a game where we play a Vietnamese communist that's kicking capitalist colonizer butts out of Vietnam in retro arcade game glory. If we get another, we're about halfway to the goal. So if we get another 150 or so, we have about 150 so far, another 150 people pick up Decolonizers, there will be a part 2. So consider doing that. And speaking of bombing human rights, freedom, and capitalism into people with an American flag, Decolonizers is where you kick that up. You kick this U.S. military aircraft's ass. So anyways, with Soviet PT-76 tanks piloted by Vietnamese communists. Also, you can check out things like Woman, which is a irreverent retelling of the life of Mary from a woman raised in evangelical Protestant Christianity. And it's very much a kind of it is kind of pointing out some of the ridiculousness and wrongness of evangelical Protestant Christianity as well. So do check out Woman by Holly. Holly is also a partner the partner of Silver Spook in making future versions of ourselves, also called Children, as well as in making games, streams, and other things here at the Silver Spook Hui /cooperative. Also, you can support us, as always, on Patreon at patreon.com/Neofeud. You get access to the Neofeud 2 updates, the Silver Spook Discord, and just help us feeding, clothing, housing, and doing as much material conditions providing and land back and education and raising of Hawaiian non-stormtrooper children as possible by becoming a patron. You can also I got too many tabs, Silver Spook, too many freaking ass tabs. You're all tabbed out. Too many tabs. Okay, here we go. Come on, Patreon. Oh, Mastodon. I'm sorry. You can also follow us at Silver Spook Games at Octodon.social on Mastodon. Mastodon is a decentralized, non-capitalist, federated, open source social media platform that is not run by billionaires, Wall Street, the DoD, and big tech in Silicon Valley deciding what you see and what you don't see. So consider following us there. However, while we have access to John Cena's underwear, I don't have access to John Cena's underwear. We can only hope and pray that our Lord and Savior will give us access to his tidy whities. Hopefully after being laundered with bleach. Anyways, at Silver Spook Guy is my Twitter account that you can follow for my personal takes on the Death Star's satellites. However, if you want to follow games-related stuff, you can also follow at Silver Spook Games minus the E in silver because Vanna White ran out of vowels. And also, you can, for when the Neofeud goes on sale, when the games come out, like Neofeud 2, you can follow that one. If you want to learn about Terminus Cyberstar, which is another low-poly cyberpunk, late 90s style, early 90s, late 90s style game like Deus Ex System Shock, is a cyberpunk-themed RPG that is currently still in development, but coming out sometime soon. If you want to learn about when it comes out and get updates on it, you can follow it here at Terminus C. It's a game that I am the content director on. It is a sequel to Terminus Machina, which is a cyberpunk total conversion mod of Deus Ex that I made about a decade ago. And this is a game that is the sequel to that and deals with everything that Neofeud deals with. I am the content director / lead writer with a small handful of artists, programmers, writers, level designers, musicians, etc. Currently still working on it. It has McSwifts in it, which I love about it. It's very much it's in the vein of Escape from New York, the wrestling, They Live, it's dystopian cyberpunk that is funny and then also sad. And it's a cautionary dystopia. So if you want to check Terminus Cyberstar out, you can find that here at Terminus C on Twitter. Join the Discord. Join the Discord there. I will be back later cosplaying John Cena. I'm going to play John Cena I'm gonna be in my underwear. No, it's not gonna be in my underwear. Holly says no, I'm not. I'm gonna be in my Sailor Jupiter underwear. No, I'm gonna be in the John Cena. It's not. I don't have the whole costume, but we're gonna do a Peacemaker sort of cosplay thing. I'm gonna play the songs. I also have my 80s hair metal going on. You know, I'm gonna have my 80s. You know, when this is the era when men weren't afraid to be women. I'm gonna be doing some. It's gonna be silly fun time this evening, I think, because we gotta chill out from all this. Very serious. There's a lot of very seriousness. I do a lot of serious stuff, so we're gonna do some of that. If you want to see that, come around in the evening on Twitch. And until next time, I'm sorry. Thanks to all these people right here. Thanks a lot for all your support. Thanks everybody for watching. And until next time, keep your star-spangled vibrator polished. Keep your tighter whiteys extra bleach white, like whiter than the whitest white person. And no, you don't have to do that. Keep your mirror shades polished. Be excellent to each other. And let's try to get better. Be less ridiculous and less wrong. And accept it when we do that sometimes. We all do it sometimes, and we just got to get better. All right. Bye-bye.